Chapter 118. I. The doorman greeted them according to Chao Yuliang's instructions. The ranking was also based on the overall strength of the families in Songning City. Of course, the reason why Qing Menjing was placed behind Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinpeng was that although the Qing family was the top family in Songning City, they were women. Therefore, it was not a problem for them to be placed behind according to the rules. Who would have thought that Jin Beibei would suddenly make things difficult for them? However, he could not afford to offend Jin Beibei, especially old Master Jin of the Jin family, who was famous for being unreasonable. If he came, the hotel would probably be razed to the ground, and there would be no place to reason with him. Who asked you to discriminate against the Jin family? Being pushed by someone, that person deserved to be unlucky. Chao Yuliang frowned. He did not want Jin Beibei to make things difficult for him. However, he was not stupid. It was impossible for him to be arrogant to be able to wrestle with the impersonator Shao Chen over the years. He just smiled casually and said, Beibei, generally speaking, the last person to show up is the most important one. Look, in general, the last person to show up is the chairman. Oh, so you mean that I am the VIP, right? More honorable than you? Jin Beibei asked. Yes. Chao Yuliang nodded. Then why don't I have a diamond VIP card? Aren't you a VIP? You even have a diamond VIP card. Are you lying to me? Jin Beibei suddenly glared at Chao Yuliang and said angrily. Well. Chao Yuliang was very angry. It was a failure to bring Jin Beibei along. However, if he wanted to invite Qing Menjing, she would not come without Jin Beibei. In order to please Qing Menjing, he had to put up with it. The so-called Diamond VIP card was a VIP card of the highest level given by the Chao family. Those who came to eat here could enjoy the free treatment. The Chao family only gave such cards to some important partners and the outstanding disciples of the family. For example, Chao Yuliang was the heir of the Chao family. Naturally, he was qualified to have such a VIP card. He usually chose this place to treat his guests because he did not have to pay. However, he did not expect that he would be tricked by Jin Beibei before he even had his meal. Qin Jinpeng looked at Chao Yuliang sympathetically and thought, you mocked me for having my car stolen by Jin Beibei. What happened now? You were tricked, weren't you? Well. I'll give this card to you. You have it, but I don't. So, you are of a higher level than me now, aren't you? Chao Yuliang gritted his teeth. He thought to himself that he could consider it a love investment. If he gave it to Jin Beibei, he would be giving it to Qing Menjing in exchange for a good impression from her. That was better than anything else. It was just a card. With his position in the Chao family, it would not be difficult for him to get another one. That's more like it. Jin Beibei put the diamond VIP card back and said proudly, today, Jin Beibei is treating us. Feel free to eat whatever you like. Who? Chao Yuliang took a deep breath and almost collapsed on the spot. You are treating us? However, he knew that if he infuriated Jin Beibei and the girl left with Qing Menjing, all his efforts would be in vain. I didn't know that, Chao Yuliang. It's only been a few days since we last met, and you seem to be quite good at training yourself. Have you been watching a blockbuster recently? Shao Chen glanced at Chao Yuliang mockingly. What blockbuster? Chao Yuliang was slightly dazed. The Ninja Turtle. Before Shao Chen opened his mouth, Jin Beibei continued, am I right, cousin-in-law? Let him figure it out on his own, Shao Chen said with a smile. Chao Yuliang's face turned gloomy, not because Jin Beibei called him a ninja turtle, but because Jin Beibei had called him cousin-in-law. He knew that Jin Beibei might be playing tricks on Shao Chen, just like how he had been tricked without him knowing. However, on second thought, what benefit could Jin Beibei get from playing tricks on Shao Chen? Jin Beibei had tricked people a few times for her own benefit, such as Qin Jinpeng's car and his own diamond VIP card. However, Shao Chen was a poor guy. What benefit could he get? Therefore, Chao Yuliang did not know whether it was true or not. The more he thought about it, the more upset he felt. However, he could not say anything, fearing that Jean Bebe would play tricks on him again if he asked her. They went upstairs and entered the private room. However, what happened next made Xiao Yuliang even more upset. After Jean Bebe sat down, she held the menu and asked Xiao Chen to order food. "Cousin-in-law, look. This is delicious," said Jean Bebe. "Yes, yes. We ate this in the Azure Sea Palace last time. It's delicious." Xiao Chen nodded. "Bebe, look. This looks delicious too." "Yes, yes, yes. Let's order one, too. Let's eat together later," said Jean Bebe. Okay. Let's order one, too." Xiao Chen was more than happy to play dumb with Jean Bebe. He did not try to hide his relationship with Jean Bebe, either, because it would be too unnatural. Cheng Menjing pretended that she did not care, but she was secretly frowning. Why is Xiao Chen acting exactly like Jean Bebe? Two gluttons and a money grubber. Xiao Chen had earned 150,000 for his appearance, and Jean Bebe had gotten a diamond VIP card. However, what Cheng Menjing did not expect was that she had asked for 200,000 before. Seeing Xiao Chen's drooling face, Chen Jinpeng could not help but mock. "Xiao Chen, why do you look like a hungry ghost? How many days has it been since you last ate?" "Chen Jinpeng, are you scolding me indirectly?" Jean Bebe raised her head and bared her teeth at Chen Jinpeng. Well, Chen Jinpeng did not think of Jean Bebe at all. Now that he realized that he had offended Jean Bebe, too, he immediately regretted his words. How could he have been so talkative? What a b asterisk tch. He could only say with a smile, "How could I?" "Well, you said you couldn't, but you must be thinking the same way," said Jean Bebe. Speaking of bickering, Chen Jinpeng was no match for Jean Bebe at all. Even if he and Xiao Yuliang worked together, they wouldn't be able to do anything. He was immediately put out by Jean Bebe. "What about you?" "Humph." While talking, Jean Bebe suddenly slapped her car key on the table. "Right, Chen Jinpeng, I think your car is quite good. Why don't we swap cars?" "Swap cars?" Chen Jinpeng was slightly dazed, but Jean Bebe did not pursue what had happened just now. It was exactly what he wanted. Besides, the Porsche Panamera had been modified, and the Porsche 991 had not been modified yet. It would be very worthwhile to swap cars. Thinking about that, Chen Jinpeng hurried to say, "Okay. Let's do it." While talking, he gave the car key to Jean Bebe. Jean Bebe was rather straightforward this time. She gave her car key to Chen Jinpeng, too. Seeing that Jean Bebe did not play any tricks this time, Chen Jinpeng was greatly relieved. After swapping cars, Jean Bebe seemed to be quite satisfied. She went to order food from Xiao Chen again. This time, Chen Jinpeng had learned his lesson. He shut his mouth and did not dare to say anything. Xiao Yuliang did the same. He had intended to test Xiao Chen, but he did not dare to open his mouth to test him. If he was wrong, he would be screwed. Very soon, the dishes were served. They were all the dishes that Jean Bebe had ordered. However, Xiao Yuliang and the rest of them were not really there to eat. She could order whatever she wanted. After the waiters left, Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen began to eat as if nobody else were there. "Cousin-in-law, this dried pot is delicious." Jean Bebe placed the dried pot in front of her and Xiao Chen. "Yes, it is indeed delicious." Xiao Chen nodded after eating. "Bebe, the mushroom I ate just now was delicious, too." Yes. The mushroom is delicious." After taking a bite, Jean Bebe's eyes narrowed into crescents. She picked up a prawn crawler and put it on Xiao Chen's plate. "Cousin-in-law, this prawn crawler is delicious, too. Let me have a taste." Xiao Chen picked it up and stuffed it into his mouth. "It's delicious. Delicious." Xiao Yuliang looked at Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe in a daze. Now, he was not convinced that Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing were in a relationship. Although Jean Bebe called Xiao Chen her cousin-in-law, Qing Menjing did not seem to care about Xiao Chen at all. Instead, she slightly frowned when she saw Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe. However, Chao Yuliang's concern came from Jean Bebe. Was there anything fishy going on between Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe? The two of them seemed to be very close. Was Jean Bebe really trying to trick Xiao Chen? It did not look like it. If the two of them were dating, Chao Yuliang would have believed it. However, his heart suddenly skipped a beat when he thought of the idea. No. He could not allow Xiao Chen to make a comeback. Absolutely not. Xiao Chen, how are you doing right now? Are you still in touch with the Xiao family? Chao Yuliang asked calmly. Not bad. Somebody often invites me to dinner. I feel that my life is even better than before. Before, I had to pay for my meals with my own money. Now, somebody else pays for me, Xiao Chen said. The Xiao family? Not really. I saw my sister a couple of days ago and was scolded by her. Huh? Chao Yuliang was dazed for a moment. Then, he was more or less relieved. It seemed that the Xiao family's attitude toward Xiao Chen had not changed. It was a good thing. Now, he had 3 pieces of information, some good and some bad. One was that Qing Menjing and Xiao Chen did not seem to be in a relationship. They should not be a love story between a young lady and a servant. However, he was not very sure. 2 was that the relationship between Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen was a little special. He did not know whether Jean Bebe wanted to trick Xiao Chen or make use of Xiao Chen. Or perhaps, both of them were greedy for money, so they fell in love with each other. The 3rd piece of information was more important. The Xiao family's attitude toward Xiao Chen had not changed. He could be sure of that. Chao Yuliang did not think that Xiao Chen would lie to him. The 3rd piece of information was really good news. Well, I haven't seen Xiao Xiao for a long time. Haha. By the way, Qing Menjing, I heard that your brother, Qing Mingxiang, wants to propose marriage to the Xiao family? Chao Yuliang looked at Qing Menjing and said. Meng Chang like Xiao Xiao. This surprised Qing Menjing. Qing Mingxiang's brother was not close to her, his cousin. Chapter 119. Although there was not much of a difference between the two of them, only a few years apart, Qing Mingxiang seemed to be very scheming, which made it difficult for Qing Menjing to get along with him. For so many years, other than talking during the holidays, it was actually very difficult for them to interact with each other. Qing Mingxiang was the son of Qing Menjing's second uncle, Qing Zhongfan. I just heard about it. It seems that the marriage between the Qing family and the Xiao family isn't over yet. Chao Yuliang was relieved to see that Qing Menjing was just surprised. I haven't seen Xiao Xiao for a long time. By the way, Qing Menjing, I heard that your brother, Qing Mingxiang, wants to propose marriage to the Xiao family? Chao Yuliang looked at Qing Menjing and said. Mingxiang like Xiao Xiao. This surprised Qing Menjing. Qing Mingxiang's younger brother wasn't close to his cousin. Although they were only a few years apart, Qing Mingxiang seemed to be very scheming, which made it difficult for Qing Menjing to hang out with him. For so many years, apart from talking during festivals, it was difficult for them to interact with each other. Qing Mingxiang was the son of Qing Menjing's second uncle, Qing Zhongfan. I just heard about it. It seems that the marriage between the Qing family and the Xiao family isn't over yet. Chao Yuliang was relieved to see that Qing Menjing was just surprised. In theory, if the Qing family and the Xiao family united by marriage, it wouldn't be a good thing for Xiao Chen. This was because it would completely cut off the possibility of a relationship between Qing Menjing and Xiao Chen. The Qing family weren't fools. It was impossible for 2 members of the same family to unite by marriage with another family. That wouldn't maximize the benefits at all. Moreover, in this marriage, the Qing family would be the leader, and the Xiao family would be the weaker one. In order to appease the anger of the Qing family, the Xiao family would definitely lower their stance. As long as the Qing family didn't forgive Xiao Chen would never be able to make a comeback. The most important thing was that Xiao Chen's younger sister, Xiao Chen, didn't like Xiao Chen, which confirmed that it was impossible for Xiao Chen to return to the Xiao family. Of course, the final benefit that these things brought to Qiao Yuliang was that if the Qiao family used their power, Qing Menjing might be his wife. Really? Qing Menjing asked indifferently, which made Qiao Yuliang unable to see her real thoughts. In fact, Qing Menjing's thoughts weren't as complicated as Qiao Yuliang's. Although she was a member of a big family, she naturally couldn't see the drawbacks with her kind character. In her opinion, if the Qing family really united by marriage with the Xiao family again, would Xiao Chen be able to return to the Xiao family? After Xiao Chen heard it, he felt a little strange in his heart. What was the Qing family playing at? He could see it clearly. Even if the engagement between Qing Menjing and himself was destroyed, he was more likely to return to the Xiao family in the end. Or was it that the Qing family was just angry for a while? After the anger subsided, they wouldn't care about his life anymore? I can't be sure. It's just a rumor. In fact, Qiao Yuliang wasn't sure about this matter. He also heard that person mention it vaguely. At this time, he said it just to test Qing Menjing. However, after testing, he couldn't see anything on Qing Menjing's face, which made him very depressed. Qiao Yuliang had no other way. He could only give Qin Jinpeng a look. Since he couldn't test her, then he would carry out the second plan, which was to defame Xiao Chen. As long as he often belittled Xiao Chen's image, then Qing Menjing would definitely not have feelings for Xiao Chen. This kind of thing was imperceptible. As long as she slowly hated Xiao Chen from the bottom of her heart, then even if Xiao Chen wanted to change this impression, it would be useless. Xiao Chen, after dinner, little brother will bring you to have some fun. I heard that there are a few top girls in the Dreamland nightclub. One of them is a porn actress called Cece. Can I help you arrange it? Qin Jinpeng said at this time. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Although he had been to the Dreamland nightclub to have fun, it was nothing more than singing, drinking, and showing off with his little brother. He had never looked for any prostitutes. He was still a virgin. What was this Qin Jinpeng doing? However, very soon, he understood. Was this guy sent by Qiao Yuliang to be his henchman? Belittling his image in front of Qing Menjing? Xiao Chen was very puzzled. It was basically impossible for him and Miss to be together. Why was he doing these useless things? Could it be that he was such a big threat to him? Oh, it's Cece. Pengzi, what are the names of the two girls we played together last time? Those two young models? Xiao Chen nodded shamelessly and then said to Qin Jinpeng, I think those two are good. We can have a threesome, F***CKU, aren't you framing me? Anyway, it's impossible for me and Miss to be together now. I don't have any expectations for goddess Shen Jingxian, so I'm not afraid of slandering you. Since you like going to nightclubs so much, I don't mind framing you. Huh? Qin Jinpeng was stunned. When did he play with young models with Xiao Chen? Xiao Chen's words made Shen Jingxian frown. Although Qin Jinpeng was arranged by the family, it didn't mean that she liked Qin Jinpeng. When she heard that Qin Jinpeng went to play with young models, Shen Jingxuan's impression of him suddenly plummeted. There was no other reason. It was because Qin Jinpeng had been bragging about how upright he was when he was in contact with her for the past few days. Because he had been a second young master since he was young, he didn't have too many bad habits of a playboy. He was Shen Jingxuan's ideal marriage partner. But now, it seemed that they were jackals of the same tribe. As for Xiao Chen, Shen Jingxian didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Because Xiao Chen was notorious in the past. He had such a beautiful fiancée, but he still flirted with other women. Not only did he pursue Kerlin, he also pursued her. So, Shen Jingxian was used to Xiao Chen's behavior. As for Qing Menjing, she just frowned slightly. She didn't believe that Xiao Chen was a playboy. How many of these young masters were playboys? Even her younger brother, Qing Menjing had heard that he played with women. It wasn't a secret in the aristocratic families. Cheng Menjing was completely disappointed with her fiancé, Xiao Chen. So, now that Xiao Chen changed a little, she was surprised. As for these things that Chen Jinpeng said, Cheng Menjing didn't care at all. She had seen the worst side of him. How could she be afraid that it wouldn't be worse? In Cheng Menjing's opinion, it was unforgivable that Xiao Chen bullied others and forced himself to pursue Kerlin. It was normal for him to find a prostitute. If Chao Yuliang knew Cheng Menjing's logic, he would probably die of anger. Cheng Menjing didn't have high requirements. Was it a surprise that he was a little better? However, Chen Jinpeng used to work for Xiao Chen. If he denied it, Shen Jingxian wouldn't believe it. It was him who brought up this topic, and Xiao Chen said it in a natural way. It didn't seem to be fake at all. Wow, a threesome? Isn't it cool? Jean Bebe raised her head and looked at Xiao Chen with admiration. Cousin-in-law, you are so powerful. Pooh. Xiao Chen spat out the drink in his mouth. He had just mentioned it casually, but Jean Bebe took it seriously and looked very excited. Was this girl's mind abnormal? What's a threesome? Cheng Menjing didn't know what it meant. She looked at Jean Bebe in confusion. She thought it was a round-trip flight. It's a threesome. Jean Bebe said, but threesome is not limited by gender. 2 men and 1 woman, 2 women and 1 man. 3 men or 3 women are all threesome. But a threesome is 2 women and 1 man. In other words, threesome includes a threesome. A threesome is a subset of threesome. Cheng Menjing didn't know what a threesome was. But threesome was common. How could she not know? She glared at Xiao Chen after hearing that. Hey, don't lead me astray. Bebe said that. Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile. Humph, you did it, Cheng Menjing said. Then I did it. Xiao Chen said. You. Cheng Menjing was a bit angry. Can't you be more reserved in front of your fiancé? Do you even care about me? How can you talk about such things in front of me? How annoying. Seeing that Cheng Menjing was starting to hate Xiao Chen, Chao Yuliang was quite happy. It seemed that his scheme had worked. However, if he knew Cheng Menjing's real thoughts at the moment, he would probably vomit blood. Shall we go in a while? For Chao Yuliang, Chen Jinpeng was ready to risk everything. After all, Shen Jingxian was already his fiancée. Even if he didn't have a good impression of her, it was something that couldn't be changed. At most, he would kiss her again later, but he couldn't run away. He was in urgent need of Chao Yuliang to take him to some occasions where the young masters would appear in order to increase his appearance and sense of existence. Otherwise, it would be very awkward for him to take over the identity of the young master. Okay, Xiao Chen said indifferently. Jean Bebe was full at the moment. Hearing that Chen Jinpeng wanted to go to a nightclub, she immediately echoed, oh. I want to go, too. Chen Jinpeng's face darkened. He had planned to let Shen Jingxian, Cheng Menjing, and Jean Bebe leave first. After all, if he took Xiao Chen there, he and Chao Yuliang would have to have some fun, wouldn't they? However, if Jean Bebe went there, what if Shen Jingxian and Cheng Menjing went there too? However, Chao Yuliang's eyes brightened. If Jean Bebe went there, wouldn't it be possible for Cheng Menjing to go there too? By then, she would witness Xiao Chen's embarrassing behavior when he was looking for a prostitute. In that case, Cheng Menjing would probably never be able to be with Xiao Chen again in her life, would she? Thinking of that, Chao Yuliang pretended to be surprised and said, Jean Bebe, Xiao Chen is going to look for a prostitute. What are you going to do there? I'm going to look for a prostitute, too. I haven't looked for one yet. Jean Bebe, however, shouted excitedly, I'm going too. I'm going too. Bebe, do you have that function? Cheng Menjing looked at Jean Bebe, who was yelling and screaming, and felt very embarrassed. How stupid was she? I don't, but my cousin-in-law does. I'll watch him look for a prostitute and cheer for him, said Jean Bebe. Chapter 120. Ahem. A scene appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. He was with a girl, and Jean Bebe was cheering for him. How exciting! He didn't know why, but the girl's appearance had turned into Qing Menjing's. Humph, then I'll go and have a look. Let's watch together. Qing Menjing looked at Xiao Chen's fantasy and enjoyment. Suddenly, she felt a little uncomfortable. Am I so unattractive? I didn't see you look like this when you were at home. You look so beautiful when you are with a girl. I'm so mad. I'll go and ruin things for you. However, if Qing Menjing knew that Xiao Chen was fantasizing about her just now, she didn't know if she should be happy or angry. Seeing that Qing Menjing was going, Qiao Yuliang was relieved. But what puzzled him was that Xiao Chen didn't seem to care about Qing Menjing's opinion at all. It seemed that there was really nothing going on between them. However, it was a little strange to say that there was nothing going on between them under the same roof. Apart from Qing Menjing and Shen Jingxian, the rest of the food was eaten by Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe. Qin Jinpeng and Qiao Yuliang didn't eat any of it. Most importantly, they didn't have the nerve to fight for it. Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen had placed their plates in front of them. How embarrassing would that be? But the two of them didn't seem to think about it at all. They ate as happily as they could. After the meal, Jean Bebe waved her hand and swiped her diamond card. The bill was free. Qiao Yuliang's face twitched again. That was his card. Wonderland in Dreams was one of the most famous nightclubs in Songming City. It was luxuriously decorated and had many entertainment programs. It was the first choice of entertainment for the children of the aristocratic families. 3 cars parked in the underground parking lot of Wonderland in Dreams one after another. They got out of the cars and entered Wonderland in Dreams. When the receptionist at the door saw Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinpeng, she immediately greeted them with a smile. Young Master Qiao, young Master Qin, you're here again? Why did he bring 3 little girls with him today? And they're all so pretty. Are you dissatisfied with the ladies here? The receptionist automatically ignored Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen had been here before, Xiao Chen's deeds had spread. Who would still respect him? He looked like a follower and was not a big shot. When Qiao Yuliang heard the greeting, he really wanted to slap the man in the face. Usually, he would be very happy. After all, the receptionist flattered him and ignored Xiao Chen. That kind of feeling would be very satisfying. But now, the receptionist said this. Didn't that mean that he came often? Moreover, he mentioned that he was looking for a prostitute. Didn't that mean that he often came here to look for a prostitute? As for the fact that the receptionist didn't know Qing Menjing, Shen Jingxian, and Jean Bebe, it was understandable. Why would girls like them come here? Today was the first time. Ahem. Qiao Yuliang coughed twice and glanced at Qing Menjing. He said, Menjing, don't misunderstand. I'm just here to socialize and play. Oh, what does that have to do with me? Qing Menjing rolled her eyes and didn't take it to heart. Qiao Yuliang sighed in his heart. Qing Menjing didn't have that kind of interest in him. However, from Qing Menjing's expression, she probably didn't have any interest in Xiao Chen either. They both had this kind of disdainful expression. Jingxian, that's because I used to occasionally come here with young Master Xiao. It's also for fun. Qin Jinpeng quickly explained to Shen Jingxian. Shen Jingxian frowned slightly. She thought Qin Jinpeng was too unreliable. She decided to go back and discuss with her father. Even if it was a political marriage, they shouldn't look for Qin Jinpeng. She thought they wouldn't be happy in the future. It wasn't scary that he had looked for a prostitute. What was scary was that he lied to others. Shen Jingxian was the eldest daughter of an aristocratic family. She could barely accept a man having 3 wives and 4 concubines, let alone playing with a prostitute. However, what she was most afraid of was deceiving people. Shen Jingxian didn't think it was very tolerable. At this time, Shen Jingxian felt that Xiao Chen was much more pleasing to the eye. This person never pretended. He was what he was. The greeter saw that Qiao Yuliang and Qin Jinpeng's expressions weren't right. After listening to their explanation to the girls beside them, he immediately understood that these beauties weren't ordinary women. They were people with status. His previous words were a bit unnecessary. He was so scared that he quickly moved to the side and didn't dare to say anything more. It seems that I come here too rarely. They don't even know me. Ha. Xiao Chen seemed to laugh at himself. In fact, it indirectly meant that Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinpeng were regular customers here. These two people finally felt like they had shot themselves in the foot. They obviously wanted to ruin Xiao Chen's reputation, but Xiao Chen didn't seem to care about this at all. Of course, Xiao Chen didn't care. In the past, in order to save his life, he didn't hesitate to pretend to be a prodigal. What was this little thing? Young Master Xiao, young Master Chao, young Master Chen, are you here to sing? At this time, a man in a black suit came over. Obviously, the greeter told him about the situation here. He was the lobby manager, Feng Yujing. He was a smart person. As soon as he came up, he put Xiao Chen in front of him. In addition to showing that he valued Xiao Chen, it also indirectly showed that Xiao Chen was a regular customer. However, if it was usual, it would be fine. With the previous words of the greeter, he was a little pretentious. Yes, sing. Chao Yuliang breathed a sigh of relief. Give me a private room. Okay, please wait a moment. As he spoke, Feng Yujing picked up the walkie-talkie and spoke into it. Then, he said to Chao Yuliang, Purple Chi Pavilion private room on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor of the Wonderland of Dreams was filled with luxurious private rooms. They were all named with the words, Purple Chi Chamber, East Ascension Chamber, and Rising Sun Chamber. There were no room numbers. Otherwise, some guests would want private room number 1. That would be difficult to deal with. Furthermore, they were all words. You would not be able to tell which one was the best. Wait, aren't we here to look for a mistress? What song are we singing? Jean Bebe interrupted Feng Yujing and said, Qin Jinpeng, didn't you say you wanted Mistress Zhao? Ah. Feng Yujing was stunned. He looked at Jean Bebe in surprise and didn't know what to say. A girl came here to look for a mistress? He looked at Chao Yuliang with some difficulty. Let's sing for a while first and then look for a mistress later. There's no hurry. Chao Yuliang said. Oh, okay then. Jean Bebe nodded. Feng Yujing heaved a sigh of relief and sent them to the elevator. The 3rd floor's decoration was obviously not of the same level as the 1st and 2nd floors. In the past, Xiao Chen had also been here. However, it was only limited to singing and drinking. He was not very interested in looking for a mistress. The few of them exited the elevator and walked in the direction of Purple Chi Pavilion. However, when they passed by one of the private rooms, Xiao Chen's footsteps slowed down slightly. That was because he heard a familiar voice. However, very quickly, Xiao Chen continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. He was secretly thinking about how he could make use of this matter. To be honest, Xiao Chen hated Chao Yuliang and Qin Jinpeng very much. He was not a saint. If there was a grudge, there was a grudge. Regardless of whether he was pretending to be a playboy or not, the grudge between him and Chao Yuliang had never been resolved. Of course, in the end, it was because Chao Yuliang liked Xiao Chen's fiancée, Qing Menjing. Even though Xiao Chen had acted nonchalant at the start, he still cared deep down. Furthermore, there was Qin Jinpeng. This traitor had actually snatched Xiao Chen's goddess. If Xiao Chen had not been afraid of the Qin family's suspicions, he would have sent him to meet his brother long ago. The reason why he had been laughing and joking was actually because Xiao Chen was more tolerant. They wanted to test Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen also wanted to see if the person who had been trying to harm him was Qin Jinpeng or Chao Yuliang. After entering the VIP room and ordering some snacks and beer, the waiter turned on the KTV song ordering system. Then, Chao Yuliang volunteered to sing. It had to be said that Chao Yuliang had a good voice. At least, Xiao Chen thought so, because he could not sing at all. However, What puzzled Xiao Chen was that Qiao Yuliang had chosen a female singer's song. In fact, Qiao Yuliang had heard from somewhere that Qing Menjing liked this song. However, when he sang it, he found that Qing Menjing did not even look at it. Then, he realized that he had been cheated. Qiao Yuliang, I didn't expect you to be such a sissy. Jean Bebe laughed. It's a cross-roll practice. Qiao Yuliang was speechless. He suddenly remembered that it was Jean Bebe who told him the name of the song. I bought a bag last year. After singing the song, Qiao Yuliang walked to Qing Menjing with the wireless microphone and said ingratiatingly, Menjing, what song do you want to sing? Do you want me to help you? Qing Menjing glared at Qiao Yuliang and said, I don't like singing. Huh? Qiao Yuliang was slightly stunned. Why was she angry all of a sudden? Ha ha ha, cousin Menjing is tone deaf. Liangzi, you are doomed. Jean Bebe suddenly burst into laughter. Bebe, do you want to know how death feels? Qing Menjing turned around and continued to glare at Jean Bebe. Air. Not now. I'll come to you in 100 years when I want to. Jean Bebe shut her mouth. It was not until then that Qiao Yuliang realized that his flattery had gone too far. He was very upset and gave the microphone to Qin Jinpeng. Then, he sat down and gave Qing Menjing a bottle of drink. Do you want to drink something? I like this. Qing Menjing walked past Qiao Yuliang's hand and picked up a bottle of fruit green tea. Then, she opened it and took a sip. I'm going to the bathroom. Xiao Chen suddenly stood up and walked out of the room. He could tell that his mistress did not like this place. She came here because of Jean Bebe. But at this moment, the noisy and dim environment made her frown. Xiao Chen did not know why he cared about Qing Menjing's feelings. Was it because? Chapter 121. Is she my mistress? Or was she once my fiancée? Perhaps it was both. As for looking for a prostitute, it was completely impossible for Xiao Chen. He wasn't that desperate. He hadn't looked for one before. Why would he look for one now? Xiao Chen came out of the private room. Just as someone came out of the private room where Xiao Chen had stayed for a while. Xiao Chen came out because he sensed the movement here. Sure enough. Xiao Chen, why are you here? Lu Zhenming saw Xiao Chen rushing towards him, and he was a little puzzled. Ah. Young Master Lu, but I don't have time to talk to you. I have to find the security guard. It's not good. Something big happened. Xiao Chen said anxiously. Wait. After Lu Zhenming heard Xiao Chen's words, he grabbed Xiao Chen. What happened? Why are you looking for the security guard? I don't want to talk to you now. It will be late in a while. Xiao Chen yelled. What the hell are you talking about? Lu Zhenming was also anxious. It's better to find me than to find the security guard. In this place, if I, Lu Zhenming, can't solve it, it's useless to find someone else. It was no wonder that Lu Zhenming was arrogant. This dreamland in Wonderland was his Lu family's business, so he dared to say this. Moreover, Lu Zhenming wanted to kill Xiao Chen now, but he couldn't make a move openly. First, he told Jing Xiaoquan that it was not in line with the rules of the underworld if he made a move openly. Second, it was more important that Yu Xiaoquan was watching. Although he had thoughts about Yu Xiaoquan, he didn't dare to offend Yu Xiaoquan. Therefore, he pretended to listen to Yu Xiaoquan's words and built a good relationship with Xiao Chen. Now his purpose was to gain Xiao Chen's trust, so that he could have a chance to trick Xiao Chen. It seemed that the effect was very obvious. Then I'll tell you. Today, two ruthless men invited me, Qing Menjing, and Jean Bebe to play here. One of them was my former underling, but now he has changed and doesn't care about me anymore. Xiao Chen said anxiously. What? Qing Menjing is also here? At first, Lu Zhenming didn't pay much attention to it, but when he heard Qing Menjing's name, he immediately paid attention. What happened? And then? Then, another ruthless man, he is Qing Menjing's pursuer. I heard that he wanted to drug Qing Menjing's drink, and then take the opportunity. You know. Xiao Chen said, although I like her now, no matter what, Qing Menjing is my former fiancé. If she likes that man, it's okay. But the point is that she doesn't like him. I can't ignore it. Don't you think so? F***ck their ancestors. As soon as Lu Zhenming heard that someone had drugged Qing Menjing, he immediately exploded. He was so angry that he jumped up from the ground. Who dares to touch the woman that I, Lu Zhenming, fancy? You dare to drug someone in my territory? I'll King kill him. Oh, young Master Lu, don't be impulsive. Seeing that Lu Zhenming was about to rush over, Xiao Chen quickly grabbed him. I said, he is a ruthless man. A ruthless man means a warrior. If it were ordinary people, I would have beaten them to death. Oh, that's true. After hearing this, Lu Zhenming didn't rush over. Instead, he turned his head and shouted to the box he had just come out of, Brothers Dong Yu and Dong Shu, you two come out and follow me to kick people. Yes. The people in the box responded and came out. They were two big men who looked somewhat similar. Judging from their names, they should be brothers. These two are? Xiao Chen asked quickly. These two are the personal disciples of our Lu family's old ancestor. They are also my big brother and second brother. Today, I invited them to have fun. You really found the right time. If it was any other time, I really wouldn't be able to convince Master to ask them to help. Lu Zhenming said proudly, Big brother Dong Yu is a martial artist at the peak of stage 6 inner force. Second brother Dong Shu is also a martial artist at the peak of stage 4 inner force. With them taking action, no matter how ruthless people are, they will have to crawl out of here. That's awesome. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and save them. Xiao Chen said excitedly. However, in Xiao Chen's heart, a storm was set off. A martial artist at the peak of stage 6 inner force. Lu Zhenming actually had such an expert by his side. If Lu Zhenming really let this person deal with him, then even if he had the help of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, he wouldn't be a match. Fortunately, Lu Zhenming couldn't order these two people around. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The most important thing now was to increase his strength as soon as possible. Yes, save them. Let's go. Lu Zhenming waved his hand and the four of them rushed to the Purple Chi Pavilion. When they arrived at the entrance of the Purple Chi Pavilion, Lu Zhenming pointed to the door of the private room and asked, Is this the place? That's right. Xiao Chen nodded. I'd better follow behind. If those two ruthless people find out that I was the one who leaked the information, they will kill me afterward. They don't dare to offend a fierce person like young Master Lu, but a small character like me can't. My family won't protect me. Alright, then you stay behind. Lu Zhenming actually didn't want Xiao Chen to be in the limelight. This was a great opportunity for him to be in the limelight. It was enough for him to be in the limelight. If he let Qing Menjing remember that he saved her, she might have a good impression of him. Thinking of this, Lu Zhenming fiercely kicked the door of the private room. With a loud bang, the door of the private room was kicked open. Lu Zhenming rushed into the private room first and saw Qing Menjing drinking a drink while Chao Yuliang was beside her saying something. F***ck your mother's leg. Lu Zhenming flew over and slapped Chao Yuliang's face. Half of Chao Yuliang's face immediately swelled up like a steamed bun. He was slapped in a daze and didn't know what had happened. He sat there in a daze and didn't move. At this moment, Lu Zhenming's blood was boiling. He wasn't happy with the first slap, so he gave a second slap. With a pa sound, Chao Yuliang was immediately hit until his mouth was full of blood. His face also became like a pig's head. Who are you? What are you doing? Qin Jinpeng was greatly shocked. Pointing at the thug who had broken into the private room, he shouted, What? What are you doing? He had just been promoted to the heir of the Qin family and hadn't participated in any activities of the noble families yet. Therefore, he didn't know who Lu Zhenming was at all. "Boy, don't move if you don't want to die." Dong Yu walked over and grabbed Qin Jinpeng's collar. She dragged him aside as if he were a chicken and revealed the capability of a warrior at the peak of the 6th level of his inner force. Qin Jinpeng was aghast in his heart. Not only was this thug incomparably ferocious, his strength was also very superb. He was a warrior at the peak of the 6th level of his inner force. Where did he come from? The lady was shocked. Shen Jingxian was shocked. Jin Beibei, on the other hand, watched Qiao Yuliang being beaten in excitement. Bam! 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 Lu Zhenming was not satisfied yet. He kicked Qiao Yuliang hard and knocked him to the ground. However, Qiao Yuliang came back to himself this time. He hurried to protect his critical parts and dodged back and forth. Lu Zhenming was also a warrior at the 1st level of inner force. If he really attacked Qiao Yuliang would certainly be beaten up badly. Therefore, it could not be helped. Qiao Yuliang could only defend himself in secret, but he did not dare to be too obvious. If he did not defend himself, he would be beaten to death. More importantly, he would be beaten out of nowhere. He did not even see who his opponent was. However, seeing that Qiao Yuliang was dodging, Lu Zhenming felt that the beating was not satisfying anymore. So he said to Dong Shu, who did not attack, second senior brother, "Come here and help me hold him down. I'm going to beat this little bastard to death. Damn it. How dare he touch the woman that I, Lu Zhenming, like? He must be tired of living." Dong Shu nodded. He came over and held Qiao Yuliang down. Qiao Yuliang wanted to struggle, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move. He secretly used the capability of the peak of the 3rd level of inner force, but he still could not break free, which meant that his opponent was more powerful. In desperation, Qiao Yuliang could only defend himself with all his strength. Fortunately, Lu Zhenming's strength was not very high. Under Qiao Yuliang's full defense, he was not badly beaten. However, Qiao Yuliang only dared to defend himself secretly, but did not dare to show his strength of the peak of the 3rd level of inner force. Although Qin Jinpeng was on his side, Qing Menjing, Shen Jingxian, and Jin Beibei were all from aristocratic families. If he secretly defended himself, they might not feel anything, because the internal force of the defense could only be perceived by the attacker who was very close to him. However, if the internal force of the attack was released, everyone nearby could feel it. Yes, Qiao Yuliang was not a real foppish young master. Although he looked as arrogant and domineering as Xiao Qin, they were all from aristocratic families. Who was more stupid than the other? What you saw might not be the truth. For example, Yu Xiaochuan and Jing Xiaokuan were all scheming people. Even Lu Zhenming was not simple. Although he had been tricked by Xiao Qin several times, if Xiao Qin hadn't hidden his true strength, if he was really the hedonistic idiot from before, he would have probably been toyed to death by Lu Zhenming by now. He wouldn't have survived until now. It could only be said that Lu Zhenming was not as smart as Xiao Qin, but it did not mean that he was not smart. In fact, the plots he made were exactly what a son from a family of mafias should have, but he used them on the wrong person. Over these years, Qiao Yuliang had been hiding his real strength. He looked like a good-for-nothing on the surface. In fact, he had started to cooperate with someone when he was very young. The reason why he could become the eldest son of the Qiao family was that with the help of that person, his cousin was expelled from the Qiao family and sent to the north to manage his business. Now, he was the only heir of the Qiao family. Xiao Qin hid outside the door of the private room. His breathing was slightly rapid, and his hands were clenched into fists, which was enough to show the injustice in his heart at this moment. Chapter 122. Others might not be able to sense Qiao Yuliang's strength at the peak of stage 3 inner force, but as a cultivator, Xiao Qin would be able to sense it as long as a martial artist released their inner force, unless they deliberately suppressed it and hid it, ensuring that their inner force would not leak at all times. Xiao Qin would never have thought that Qiao Yuliang was actually a martial artist, and that he had already reached the peak of stage 3 inner force. Among the children of aristocratic families, he was one of the best. Of course, whether Qiao Yuliang hid his strength or not, logically speaking, had little to do with Xiao Chen. However, a group of fragmented memories reappeared in Xiao Chen's mind, as if they were about to form a complete sequence of events. The somewhat familiar Audi A6L, the Stage 3 inner force expert who pushed him down the cliff, Qiao Yuliang's foresight when he returned to school, and the assassin's words of, "You also hid your strength." These scenes, which originally had nothing to do with each other, were put together at this moment. It made Xiao Chen think of something. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Qiao Yuliang in the private room. Was it him? Xiao Chen was not too sure. On the way to Songlong Mountain Cliff mouth, Xiao Chen vaguely remembered that there seemed to be an Audi A6L and a taxi driving together. Of course, this was also discovered in the fragmented memories after he became a cultivator and recalled the past. And the car that Qiao Yuliang drove today was precisely an Audi A6L. Back then, Xiao Chen had not been able to figure out who it could be. However, Qiao Yuliang, who was in front of him, fulfilled this condition. After returning to school, Qiao Yuliang actually knew that he jumped off the cliff. How did the taxi driver know about this? When he walked to the cliff mouth, he remembered that the driver had already driven away. That unknown assassin said that he also hid his strength. Obviously, among the people he knew, there should be someone who also hid his strength. So many clues pointed to one person at the same time, that was Qiao Yuliang. However, these things were not enough to be conclusive evidence, and Xiao Chen could not determine whether this person was Qiao Yuliang or not. Qiao Yuliang, if this person is really you, then I'm afraid you will be disappointed. I, Xiao Chen, am no longer the previous Xiao Chen. Thinking of the previous times, if the assassin was sent by Qiao Yuliang's people, then Lu Zhenming could be said to have helped him several times, and this time, it was Lu Zhenming who helped him. Lu Zhenming, wow, you are really a good person. In the private room, Qiao Yuliang was already out of breath from being beaten and could not speak. Lu Zhenming, what are you doing? Qing Menjing also recovered at this time and looked at Lu Zhenming with some horror. She did not know why he was crazy and beat up Qiao Yuliang as soon as he came in. Menjing, this guy wants to do something bad to you. Don't worry, I will protect you. Lu Zhenming patted his chest and said. Qiao Yuliang looked at Lu Zhenming with resentment. At this moment, he finally saw who the person in front of him was. Wasn't this the Lu Zhenming who repeatedly opposed him? However, at this moment, Qiao Yuliang seemed to understand something. This guy, it turns out that he also likes Qing Menjing. F***CKU, you are from an underworld family, how dare you challenge me, a young master from a formal family? Well, let's wait and see. He wanted to curse, but his cheeks were so swollen that he could not make a sound. Actually, everything happened very fast. It was only a few minutes since Lu Zhenming came in and beat up Qiao Yuliang. At this time, Qin Jinpeng pointed at Lu Zhenming and shouted at the top of his voice, I don't care who you are. You beat up Child Qiao. This is not over. Child Qiao? What Child Qiao or Child Li? I don't know him. Lu Zhenming wanted to act tough for a while, but when he saw Qing Menjing frown, he suddenly remembered what Jean Bebe had said before. She said that Qing Menjing did not like the scene of a hero saving a damsel in distress. Thinking of this, Lu Zhenming felt that he should stop before going too far. He should save someone without leaving his name, and he should not act tough. That was the only way he could win Qing Menjing's favor. If he acted like a hero, he was afraid that he would have saved her in vain. Therefore, Lu Zhenming waved his hand and said, Menjing, it's all right now. I'm leaving. Don't drink the drinks on the table. With that, Lu Zhenming quickly led Dong Yu and Dong Shu out of the private room. They came and left in a hurry, not leaving a single cloud behind. Lu Zhenming walked out of the room and was a little puzzled when he did not see Xiao Chen. However, when he returned to his room, he saw Xiao Chen waiting for him at the door of the room. Xiao Chen, why are you here? Didn't you see me beating people up just now? Lu Zhenming looked at Xiao Chen with some puzzlement. I say, young Master Lu, do you want to kill me? You went up and beat them up. You are not afraid of them, but I am. If I didn't hide quickly and let him know that I was the one who leaked the information, he would retaliate against me later. Xiao Qin said with a bitter face. That's right. Lu Zhenming nodded after listening. Xiao Qin, don't worry. I will never treat you badly in the future. How about this? You help me monitor him in the future. If that little bastard still wants to do something bad to Menjing, you tell me. I will kill him. Ah. Let me monitor him. Xiao Qin looked at Lu Zhenming with some embarrassment. Young Master Lu, it's not that I don't want to help you. With our current relationship, you are protecting me and taking me to make money. I am actually very grateful to you. But you also know that I sell fried dough sticks every day. Xiao Qin slowly returned to the Purple Chi Pavilion. Suddenly, he saw Chao Yuliang lying on the ground, and Qin Jinpeng was continuously searching for something on Chao Yuliang's body. Liangzi? What happened to you? Xiao Qin looked at Chao Yuliang on the ground in horror. You have food poisoning? Why is your face swollen? Woo woo. Oh. Chao Yuliang saw Xiao Qin and wanted to explain. However, his mouth was so swollen that he couldn't open it. He couldn't say anything at all. Brother-in-law, Xiao Liangzi offended someone and was beaten up. Jean Bebe said, just now, Lu Zhenming brought people over and gave him a good beating. What? Lu Zhenming came? He beat up Chao Yuliang? Xiao Qin looked at Chao Yuliang on the ground in puzzlement. I say, Liangzi, how did you offend Lu Zhenming? The two of you shouldn't know each other. Woo woo. Chao Yuliang was also extremely angry. It's not like I don't know him. However, when this guy came in, he beat me up like crazy. I'm really unlucky. Finally, Qin Jinpeng found a small medicine bottle on Chao Yuliang's body. He quickly opened it and poured the medicine inside into Chao Yuliang's mouth. After a while, the redness and swelling on Chao Yuliang's face subsided slightly. At least he could speak. Lu Zhen Ming, you wait. Brother Liang, shall we go back now? Qin Jinpeng asked carefully. Chao Yuliang nodded. It was not suitable for him to take revenge in his current state. It was even more impossible for him to continue playing. Alas, this is so boring. I haven't found a prostitute yet. Jean Bebe was very disappointed. Xiao Liangzi, you're so lousy. You haven't even found a prostitute yet, and you've already withered. Chao Yuliang's face turned red. If it was any other time, it would have been fine. But in front of Qing Menjing, he said that he was a coward if he couldn't even handle one. Wouldn't that make Qing Menjing look down on him? If Qing Menjing looked down on him, she would never marry him for her own happiness. Chapter 123. Therefore, Chao Yuliang became hot-headed and shouted, Today. I was beaten up. If it were any other day, I wouldn't fall even if there were 3 or 5 of them. So fierce. Cousin-in-law, can you surpass him? Jean Bebe turned around and looked at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin was speechless. Disgusting. I don't want to see you again. Qing Menjing blushed after hearing that. She glared at Chao Yuliang and turned around, pulling Jean Bebe's hand. Bebe, let's go home. This place is not fun. Driver, clear the way for me. Okay. Xiao Qin had been sick of staying here for a long time. He had messed with Chao Yuliang not only because he wanted his mistress to leave this place as soon as possible, but also because he did not expect that there would be an unexpected gain. Although he was not sure that Chao Yuliang was the one who had been trying to set him up, it seemed that he was right. Smarty-shio was right. Intelligence was always better. You were a knife that could kill without drawing blood. Where are we going now? Bebe's house? When they came to the parking lot, Xiao Chen suddenly remembered that Jean Beibei's car had been replaced by a Porsche 991 with 2 doors and 2 seats. "Wait for my car. We'll take both cars back," said Jean Beibei. "Pooh." Xiao Chen was dazed for a moment. Then, he thought of something and said, "Beibei, you are really mean." Qin Jinpeng lost another car. "I'm not as mean as my cousin-in-law." Jean Beibei said with a smile. Chao Yuliang was beaten into a pig's head. "Hey, what are you talking about?" Qing Menjing did not understand what they were talking about. She did not know what they were talking about. "Beibei wants to cheat Qin Jinpeng of another car," said Xiao Chen. "It's my cousin-in-law who found Lu Zhenming," said Jean Beibei. "Ah." Qing Menjing finally understood. She was not a black-bellied girl, so she naturally did not think of these things. However, it did not hinder her intelligence. She understood after Xiao Chen and Jean Beibei mentioned it. Sure enough, Jean Beibei was up to no good when she said she wanted to change cars. As for Lu Zhenming, how could it be so coincidental that he suddenly appeared in the private room? It was only when Xiao Chen went to the toilet that he appeared. However, seeing that Xiao Chen and Jean Beibei seemed to know each other very well, Qing Menjing felt a bit uncomfortable. "I'm your hostess. Why are you playing with my cousin all the time?" After a while, she saw Qin Jinpeng supporting Chao Yuliang and limping to the parking lot. Qin Jinpeng found it strange that Xiao Chen and the rest of them had not left yet. However, he was in a hurry to send Chao Yuliang back and had no time to care what Xiao Chen and the rest of them were doing. He took out the car key in a hurry, opened the door of the Panamera, and helped Chao Yuliang into the car. Shen Jingxian, on the other hand, followed them from a distance. Seeing Qing Menjing, she was about to greet her when she saw Jean Beibei making a phone call. "Hello, Grandpa. This is Beibei." Jean Beibei picked up the phone and put it next to her ear. She continued speaking loudly, "Yes, yes. Let's go back now. However, my car is lost again. It seems to be driven by Qin Jinpeng." "What?" "Grandpa, you have to come. Holy sh*t. Qin Jinpeng, who was about to help Chao Yuliang into the car, suddenly staggered and almost fell to the ground. However, he did not. His hand shook and fell on Chao Yuliang's butt. He couldn't have looked more wretched. With hatred in his eyes, Qin Jinpeng looked at Jean Beibei not far away. However, after careful consideration, he decided not to change cars with Jean Beibei. Gnashing his teeth, he picked up the car key and walked close, saying to Jean Beibei, "I don't want to change cars anymore." Looking at Qin Jinpeng, Jean Beibei hummed with a smile, "You can't change Jean Beibei's things just because you want to. I don't want it anymore." Qin Jinpeng was worried about Chao Yuliang's wounds. Taking a deep breath, he slapped the Panamera's car key on the cover of the Porsche 991. "I can't mess with them, but I can hide from them. Bye-bye." Jean Beibei picked up the car key and waved at Qin Jinpeng. Qin Jinpeng was so angry that smoke was rising from his nostrils and nose. Had he not been worried about Chao Yuliang, he would have spoken to Jean Beibei today before Gold Fur Lion arrived. "Jingxian, let's get in the car." Qin Jinpeng walked to Chao Yuliang's Audi A6L. Thankfully, there was still another car. "No, I'll call a taxi myself. You can drive Chao Yuliang home." Shen Jingxian shook her head. Although she was still smiling, she seemed to be a lot more distant from Qin Jinpeng. It was obvious that she hated Qin Jinpeng. "Well. Okay." Qin Jinpeng naturally sensed it, too. However, he could not ignore Chao Yuliang. He could only ask Shen Jingxian about it another day. Helping Chao Yuliang into his Audi A6L, Qin Jinpeng hurried to get in the car and left quickly. "Jingxian, why don't you ask Xiao Chen to drive you home?" Seeing that Shen Jingxian was going back alone, Qing Menjing was somewhat worried. Shen Jingxian was a pretty girl. What if she ran into some hooligans when she went out to call a taxi on such a busy street at such a late hour? There were crooks and honest folk mixed together in this area. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Shen Jingxian walked over and smiled as gently as before. Xiao Chen had once been obsessed with that smile. Time had passed, and Xiao Chen now only had appreciation for it. As the two of them drifted apart, their attitudes changed, too. Why not? And it's not troublesome at all. Shen Jingxian was Qing Menjing's best friend. Apart from Jean Bebe, Qing Menjing had the best relationship with her. How could she not worry about her? She glanced at Xiao Chen and said, "Hey, Xiao Chen, can you help me take Jingxian home? Is there a problem?" "No." Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and thought, "How dare I say there is a problem? Okay, you drive the Panamera. Bebe and I will go to Grandpa Jin's home first. You can come by yourself then," Qing Menjing ordered. "Okay, but what's the address?" Xiao Chen had never been to Jin's home. "There's a navigation system in the car. Bebe has already set it up. You just need to find home at the address," Qing Menjing said. "Got it." Xiao Chen nodded. He took the key of the Panamera and nodded to Shen Jingxian. His eyes were no longer infatuated with her. He just said lightly, "Beauty Jingxian, get in the car." Shen Jingxian was stunned. Although Xiao Chen called her Beauty Jingxian, the way Xiao Chen looked at her was completely different from before, which made Shen Jingxian feel strange. How could a playboy change so much in such a short time? Of course, in fact, Xiao Chen wasn't so superficial before. He just wanted to make himself look more stupid, so he deliberately had that expression. Xiao Chen liked Shen Jingxian. It wasn't fake. A graceful lady was a gentleman's desire. However, at that time, Xiao Chen still had some fantasies. He thought that if the Shen family and the Xiao family cooperated, would he still have a chance? Although Shen Jingshuan's Shen family was powerful, it wasn't the case in Songning City. If the Shen family wanted to expand their connections and power here, they must cooperate with the families here. At that time, Xiao Chen thought that if the Shen family and the Xiao family cooperated, would he have a chance? After all, Qing Menjing and Shen Jingxian were bosom friends. It wasn't uncommon for the children of aristocratic families to attack bosom friends. Xiao Chen thought he understood these things at that time. But now, Xiao Chen felt that he might have been a little into the role of a playboy at that time. No matter what, Shen Jingxian was the young lady of the Shen family. How could she follow him without a title? He wasn't a strong man. Xiao Chen opened the car door for Shen Jingxian in a gentlemanly manner, but he wasn't as attentive as Chen Jinpeng, which made Shen Jingxian feel a little strange. She couldn't help but look at Xiao Chen a few more times. After getting in the car, Xiao Chen started the car and didn't talk to Shen Jingxian again. Instead, he drove the car directly out of the parking lot. "Do you know where my home is?" Shen Jingxian couldn't help but ask curiously. Xiao Chen used to be a student of No. 1 middle school, so he should know. It was very late today, and the dormitory building of No. 1 middle school was already closed. If Shen Jingxian didn't show her identity as the young lady of the Shen family, she could only go home to stay. But Shen Jingxian rarely used this identity. "Oh, so you want to go home? I thought you were going back to school." Xiao Chen used to go back to school very late, but as long as he said his name as the young master of the Xiao family, the guard would quickly open the door for him. It was the same for Shen Jingxian, but he didn't expect that Shen Jingxian wanted to go home. What a good child. However, Xiao Chen also knew about Shen Jingshuan's home. "My family also knows. I used to be obsessed with you for a while, so I also investigated your home address, hobbies, height, 3 measurements, and so on." "Ah?" Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen in shock. She didn't expect that Xiao Chen would say it so naturally. He even said that he was infatuated with her. She thought that he would be secretive about it. However, forget about the address, he even investigated her 3 measurements. Hee, of course, I didn't find out." Xiao Chen smiled. You scared me." Shen Jingxian patted her chest. She was just thinking about who exposed her information. Qing Menjing was probably the only one who knew. However, Qing Menjing obviously wouldn't tell Xiao Chen. Shen Jingshuan's words made Xiao Chen stunned. In the past, when he saw Shen Jingxian, she always had a gentle look, and the speed of her speech was not too fast or too slow. It made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. He had never heard such a little woman's tone. When Shen Jingxian saw that Xiao Chen didn't speak, she also realized the problem with her words just now. She couldn't help but smile and say, "I am a normal girl. Of course, there are times when I am surprised." But this time, her speed of speech returned to normal. It was warm and soft. "It seems that I am quite honored." Xiao Chen nodded. If it were before, when Shen Jingxian said this to him, he would be very proud, but now everything seemed to have become indifferent. "Yes, it is your honor to let you see this lady speak like this." Shen Jingxian was playful. She imitated Qing Menjing's tone and said to Xiao Chen. Chapter 124. Pfft, haha. Xiao Chen suddenly laughed out loud. "You don't say, it's really similar." They are indeed best friends. Even their voices and expressions are very similar. "Xiao Chen, to be honest, I really didn't expect you to become like this one day." Shen Jingxian put away her previous joking expression and said solemnly to Xiao Chen, "If you were like this before, maybe Menjing wouldn't hate you so much." "It's the same. It doesn't matter." Xiao Chen shrugged. "Now I'm eating and drinking under the big sister. I just have to make her happy." "You can do it. There will be a day when the Jiao silk also makes a comeback," Shen Jingxian said with a smile. He didn't know why, but when Shen Jingxian said the words Jiao silk in this tone, Xiao Chen felt a little strange. He had never heard Shen Jingxian say such words before. But thinking about it, he didn't have contact with Qing Menjing in the past. It was impossible for him to imagine that Qing Menjing had such a tsundere side. Only after being in contact for a long time will one discover the true side? Does it mean that behind every goddess, there is a man who has *ket her until she wants to vomit? Xiao Chen shook his head. "I won't vomit, right?" The Panamera was a sports car. Xiao Chen's speed was very fast. There weren't many cars on the road at night, so they soon arrived at the Shen family's residence in Songning City. Shen Jingxian was also quite surprised that Xiao Chen didn't delay the time to talk to her on the way. "Didn't Xiao Chen always find an excuse to talk to me?" It was really difficult for her to overlap the current Xiao Chen with the previous Xiao Chen. They were completely different people. "I'm leaving, Xiao Chen, thank you for sending me off." Shen Jingxian unfastened her seatbelt, pushed the car door open, and waved her hand to Xiao Chen as she said softly, "Well, give Miss a call so that she won't worry." Xiao Chen nodded. "Okay." Shen Jingxian was stunned and then nodded. Xiao Chen seemed to be very concerned about Qing Menjing. Or was it because Qing Menjing was his mistress? Xiao Chen didn't say anything else. He didn't even have a trace of reluctance. He started the car and left the Shen family's residence with a beautiful drift. Shen Jingxian looked at Xiao Chen's car quietly and shook her head. "Xian, did Jinpeng send you back?" Shen Zhenghao heard the sound of the car in the courtyard and walked out of the villa. She saw her daughter standing at the door of the courtyard, watching a car leave. "Jinpeng?" Shen Jingxian was slightly stunned, then she shook her head and said, "No, it was Menjing." Shen Jingxian didn't expect that she would lie, but she felt that it was natural to lie. She was afraid that if she said it was Xiao Chen, it would implicate Xiao Chen. "Oh, where's Jinpeng?" Shen Zhenghao nodded and asked without the slightest doubt. "Qiao Yuliang was beaten up today. Qin Jinpeng sent him back," Shen Jingxian said. "The Qiao family's Qiao Yuliang? Who dares to beat him?" Shen Zhenghao was slightly stunned. "It's the Lu family's Lu Zhenming." Shen Jingxian didn't care much about these things. Who knows why? Lu family? Shen Zhenghao shook his head. He didn't understand why an underworld family dared to be so arrogant now. Could it be that the Lu family found something to rely on? Forget it. Right, Xian, how are you getting along with Jinpeng recently? Can you get engaged to him? Shen Zhenghao asked. With him, let's wait first. I think he is a bit unreliable. Shen Jingxian shook her head slightly and said, I don't like him. Jingxian, we are the children of big families. How can there be true love? You have to think about your brother. He is not the only heir in the Shen family. If we can't make some achievements in Songning City and bring help to your brother, how can he stand out? Shen Zhenghao smiled bitterly. Although the Chen family is not big, they are also the local tyrant in Songning City. If we want to develop here, we must unite with them. Oh. Shen Jingxian flattened her mouth. When she thought of her brother, she stopped talking. She loved her brother very much. For her brother, she could marry someone she didn't like. This was the fate of a woman from a big family. Cousin Menjiang, why did you ask your cousin-in-law to send Sister Jingxian home? Aren't you afraid that they will rekindle their old love? Jean Bebe was driving the Porsche 991. She was very excited. She had never driven such a good sports car before. Rekindle their old love? Bebe, what are you talking about? How can Jingxian fall in love with Xiao Chen? Cheng Menjing said disdainfully. That's not necessarily true. The current cousin-in-law is not the same as before. Not only is he powerful, but he is also as smart as me. Besides, he can change his shape. He can cook, cure, and sleep with me. Ha ha ha, he is simply an all-rounder. Jean Bebe said excitedly. Since you admire him so much, you should marry him. Cheng Menjing frowned. Why did she feel that Jean Bebe seemed to be in love? When she was with this girl in the past, she basically never talked about men. Even if she mentioned it occasionally, it was to prank someone. Well, my grandpa does hope that, but I can't compete with you, cousin Menjiang. Jean Bebe said. Cheng Menjiang was a bit puzzled after hearing that. Why did Master Jean fall in love with Xiao Chen? Was it just because Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe got along well? Or was it because Xiao Chen could cure diseases? I don't want it. You can have it. Cheng Menjing said. It's a pity that my cousin-in-law doesn't like me. Jean Bebe said regretfully. If you like him, he would love to marry you. Cheng Menjing snorted. That's not necessarily true. I'm not a goddess. I don't have a good temperament like you, cousin Menjing. Jean Bebe held her breasts with her hands and said, my breasts are the only advantage I have. I wonder if my cousin-in-law likes boobs. Jean Bebe's words made Cheng Menjing somewhat happy. Hee hee. I'm the goddess. It's just that Xiao Chen is a blind man who can't see how good I am. Bebe can see it. Xiao Chen's car was fast. Although he had played with cars before, it had been difficult for him to keep the speed at such a high speed. Although there were not many cars on the street at night, it was still a street, and the performance of a sports car could not be maximized. However, today, Xiao Chen discovered that he could do it. Traveling in the traffic, Xiao Chen could do it easily. He was almost one with the car. The six senses of a cultivator had been enhanced, allowing Xiao Chen to execute every movement skillfully and flawlessly. Previously, Xiao Chen had seen movements in racing videos, but he had never been able to execute them. Now, Xiao Chen could easily execute them. Just like cooking with fried dough sticks, if Xiao Chen were to take part in a race right now, it would not be a problem for him to win the first place. What an awesome cultivator. In fact, what Xiao Chen did not know was that it would not be difficult for him to win the first place with his driving skills. As long as he practiced a few more times, he would almost be a god of racing. Jean Bebe was driving when she suddenly discovered that somebody was blinking at her with the headlights behind her. She was immediately infuriated. She was about to take a closer look when a red Porsche 991 drove past her quickly and overtook her instantly, parking on the side of the road. The plate number of the red Porsche 991 was TPC 991. It was one of the best plates, too. PC could be the abbreviation of sports car or the abbreviation of Porsche, the English logo of Porsche. With the plate number of 991, it was almost invincible. Only Chen Jinpeng's family could have auctioned such an awesome plate number. Holy *T. Why is my cousin-in-law here so soon? Didn't he go to send Sister Jingxian home? Did he leave Sister Jingxian on the side of the road? Jean Bebe looked at the car in front of her in surprise. It was Chen Jinpeng's car. Cheng Menjing frowned suspiciously after hearing Jean Bebe's words, too. Are you serious? Isn't Xiao Chen in love with Jingxian? It would be great if he didn't send her home and dawdled a little longer on the way. How could he be so fast? It's hard to say. I don't think my cousin-in-law is so shallow. Jean Bebe shook her head. Cousin Menjing, have you ever dissed my cousin-in-law before? Why do I feel that he is a completely different person from what you described him to be? Cheng Menjing was rendered speechless. In fact, she felt that Xiao Chen was a different person from what she remembered, too. Jean Bebe parked the car behind Xiao Chen's Porsche 991 and then got out of the car. She happened to see Xiao Chen also open the door and get out of the car. Cheng Menjing ran over and looked into the car, trying to see where Shen Jingxian was. However, she didn't find Shen Jingxian. She was a little anxious. She put her hands on her waist and questioned, Hey, Xiao Chen, where did you take Jingxian? I sent her home. Xiao Chen was stunned, not knowing why the eldest miss was mad again. Did he come back too late? But it was already very fast. Sent her home? Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen suspiciously. You came back in such a short time? This car is fast. Xiao Chen said, I used to go racing, so I drove fast. Oh. Cheng Menjing nodded. She believed Xiao Chen's words. She had heard that Xiao Chen played with cars before. On the other hand, Jean Bebe looked at Xiao Chen in surprise, but she did not say anything. The two cars set off from the Wonderland of Dreams at the same time. Xiao Chen went to the Shen family's residence and then caught up with them. It was not as simple as racing. He was like a robot. Let's go to Bebe's home. Do you want to take my car or Bebe's? Xiao Chen asked. I won't take your car. I will be scared to death if you drive so fast. Cheng Menjing snorted and got into Jean Bebe's car. I want to take my brother-in-law's car, Jean Bebe said. Bebe. Cheng Menjing shouted with a gloomy face. Although she could also drive, she didn't know how to control a sports car. She was afraid of hitting it if it was too fast. Oh. Then I'd better be Cousin Menjing's driver. Jean Bebe closed the door of the Panamera and returned to the Porsche 991. Chapter 125. This time, Xiao Chen also drove at a normal speed. The two cars drove to the Jean family's villa one after another. The Jean family was a relatively weak family among all the well-known families. Old Master Jean did not have much business sense. There were no other good businesses in the family, either. They only managed a few medium-sized businesses, which were enough to support the whole family. However, compared with other well-known families, the Jean family was quite poor. Therefore, the Jean family's villa was not very large. It was not as beautiful as those well-known families. The Jean family was just located on the roadside in the suburbs, which was not very eye-catching. Jean Bebe's two cars were probably the best cars in the Jean family. Even old Master Jin's car was just a Wrangler. The arrival of the two luxury cars at the same time immediately attracted the attention of the Jean family. A man who looked similar to Jean Bebe and was about 20 years old walked over. When he saw Jean Bebe, he said happily, Bebe, you've brought your friends back. Brother, it's my cousin and cousin-in-law. Jean Bebe said. Cousin? Cousin-in-law? Jean Bao was stunned. Although he knew Cheng Menjing and Cheng Menjing was Jean Bebe's cousin, he did not know who her cousin-in-law was. He wondered which of Jean Bebe's cousins was married. Cousin. Cheng Menjing got out of the car and nodded at Jean Baobao. Although Jean Baobao was Jean Beibei's cousin, it was not wrong for Cheng Menjing to call him cousin. In a big family, they were all relatives more or less. It's cousin Menjing. Jean Baobao looked at the Panamera. However, when he saw Xiao Chen getting out of the car, he was extremely surprised. If it were before, he would not have felt anything wrong. But now, the Qing family and the Xiao family had broken off the engagement, hadn't they? Why was Xiao Chen still Cheng Menjing's fiancé? Moreover, Beibei even called him cousin-in-law? This must be a very close relationship. Cousin, don't listen to Beibei's nonsense. There's nothing between me and Xiao Chen. She's just calling me that. Cheng Menjing hurriedly explained when she saw Jean Baobao's astonished expression. This, all right. Jean Baobao scratched his head. He knew his sister's character, so he was not too surprised. He could only nod politely to Xiao Chen, brother Xiao, welcome to the Jean family. Jean Baobao's friendliness surprised Xiao Chen. He didn't expect that Jean Baobao would still be so polite after he was kicked out of the Xiao family. Of course, Lu Zhenming, Yu Xiaochuan, and the others were also very polite, but Xiao Chen couldn't tell if they were really polite or not. Jean Baobao didn't have too much arrogance. He was just easygoing, not like the Jean family's weird people. It seemed that Jean Beibei was the only one who had inherited Master Jin's character. Brother Bao. Xiao Chen nodded to him. You're welcome. Please come in. I'll ask someone to serve you tea. Jean Baobao made a gesture of invitation. Brother, you're not needed here. You can go and ask Grandpa to come out. Jean Beibei said to Jean Baobao. Call Grandpa. Jean Baobao was slightly dazed. He looked at Jean Beibei in confusion. Well, although cousin Menjing and brother Xiao are both distinguished guests, it's not necessary for Grandpa to welcome them in person, is it? In Jean Baobao's opinion, it was a visit between the younger generation. How could the master of the family come out to welcome them? He dared not bother Master Jean for such a trivial matter. Even if he was not beaten, he would be scolded. Jean Baobao was quite scared. Brother, just go. Grandpa likes my brother-in-law very much. He even wants me to marry him. Chances are that he will be your brother-in-law in the future. As Jean Beibei spoke, she suddenly noticed that Cheng Menjing's face was not quite right. Therefore, she hurried to say, he is my brother-in-law. However, after she finished her sentence, Cheng Menjing's face became even more awkward. Beibei, you are a girl. Don't always joke about such things. I used to be Xiao Chen's fiancé. It's fine if I joke about it. But you are going to get married in the future. What if people think that you have a bad reputation because you used to be in a relationship with Xiao Chen? In that case, I will have to be my brother-in-law's mistress. Jean Beibei said indifferently. Cheng Menjing felt that it was impossible to communicate with Jean Beibei. Jean Beibei's theory was infuriating. Although Jean Baobao did not quite believe what Jean Beibei said, seeing that Jean Beibei was so confident, he simply nodded. He was going to tell his grandpa that Cheng Menjing and Xiao Chen had come. As for whether or not his grandpa would come out to welcome them, it would be his own business. After nodding, Jean Baobao quickly walked to the room where old Master Jean was cultivating. At this time, old Master Jean was always cultivating. At the door of the room, Jean Baobao knocked on the door carefully. Which little bee asterisk starred is knocking on the door? Don't you know that I cultivate every day at this time? Old Master Jin's angry voice came from the room. After a while, the door was opened with a clang. Jean Baobao stepped back subconsciously and looked at old Master Jean with a little fear. Jean Baobao, it's you. Old Master Jean widened his eyes and scolded, what's so important about you? If you can't tell me, I will hang you up and whip you today. Well. Grandpa, Beibei is back. Jean Baobao said carefully. In the past, when old Master Jean was angry, as long as he mentioned Jean Beibei, everything would be fine. As expected, old Master Jin's face softened a little. He nodded and said, Bebe is back. What's the matter? Bebe came with cousin Menjing and brother Xiao Chen from the Xiao family. Jean Bao Bao said. What? Xiao Chen is here? Old Master Jin's face immediately showed a look of excitement and expectation. He quickly pushed Jean Bao Bao away and strode to the reception room. As he walked, he said, You little bee asterisk starred, why didn't you tell me that Xiao Chen is here? Jean Bao Bao was a little speechless. Jean Bebe was right. Grandpa was so anxious and excited when he heard that Xiao Chen was here. However, Jean Bao Bao was also relieved after being scolded. Fortunately, he was not beaten. Thinking of this, he quickly followed them. As soon as Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing sat down, Old Master Jin's voice came, My little friend Xiao Chen, are you here to treat my illness today? After the voice, Old Master Jin also walked in. Grandpa Jin, I'm here today to treat your illness. I promised you before, so I must keep my promise. Xiao Chen nodded and said, Here is a precious medicinal material. You can ask the servants to brew it for you. It will only take 3 hours. Okay. Old Master Jin carefully took the bag that Xiao Chen handed over and then handed it to Jean Bao Bao behind him. He said, You go and brew it for 3 hours. Don't spoil it. Yes, Grandpa. Jean Bao Bao was obviously a coolie in the Jin family. His treatment was completely different from Jean Bebe's. Don't throw away the dregs after brewing. You can continue brewing it for about 20 times. They are all good medicines for treating injuries. This was what Elder Heaven Ancestor had told Xiao Chen. Therefore, Xiao Chen reminded him. Although it was only a small part of the dregs, it was bought by Xiao Chen with money. Oh. It can be used so many times? How many times do I need to take it? Old Master Jin was very surprised after hearing that. Once for the target, and twice for the root cause. Xiao Chen stretched out 2 fingers and said, 2 times is enough. That's amazing. Old Master Jin began to doubt whether what he said was true or not. If he didn't think that Xiao Chen would lie to him about such a thing, Old Master Jin would have thought that Xiao Chen was a swindler. After all, Old Master Jin had been to many hospitals. Although the Jin family was poor, they still had connections. Some big hospitals said that they couldn't do anything about it. How could Xiao Chen cure it? However, if Xiao Chen lied, it would not do him any good at all. Not only would he be hated by Jean Bebe, but he might also be driven out of the villa by Qing Menjing. In that case, he would be shooting himself in the foot. Of course, I'm just estimating. If it doesn't work, I can drink it 3 or 4 times. Don't blame me, Old Master Jin. However, 3 or 4 times is definitely not a problem. Xiao Chen did not make any promises. After all, it was Elder Heaven Ancestor who said that twice. What if it was not accurate? *T, you damn brat. You don't believe me? Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice rang in Xiao Chen's ears. Well. Isn't this the first time that I practice medicine without a license? What if I fail? Xiao Chen said with a wry smile. 3 or 4 times is fine too. Old Master Jin said, not to mention 3 or 4 times, even if I drink it 20 times, it will be worth it. This medicine is very expensive. Xiao Chen had learned to be cunning. Now he was basically the public enemy of all the big families. In just a few days, apart from the Qing family and the Xiao family, the Lu family, the Chao family, the Qin family, and the Qi family all had conflicts with him. Even Yu Xiaochuan of the Yu family was just using him. Now that he had Old Master Jin as his backer, it would be a waste not to rely on him. What Xiao Chen needed most now was time. If he could improve his strength, he wouldn't have to be afraid anymore. If it's really so effective, it must be expensive. Old Master Jin nodded. My young friend Xiao Chen, our Jin family is poor. It seems that I can't afford the medical fees. How about I compensate you with Jean Bebe? Look, she is so cute and beautiful. You can take her home and play with her. Puff, ahem. Xiao Chen said with a wry smile, Old Master Jean, I am Menjing's servant now. So, I don't need to pay you for treating your illness. It must be free of charge. Xiao Chen understood that Old Master Jean was also a shrewd man. If he gave him Jean Bebe, would he dare to play with her? Wouldn't he play himself to death? It was better to give him face. Humph, of course. I don't think you dare to ask me for money. Cheng Menjing said proudly. If you really cure this old man's injuries, then I, Golden Fur Lion King, will definitely not treat you badly. The reason why Old Master Jean didn't give Xiao Chen any promise was that he didn't believe that Xiao Chen could cure his injury with one medicine. Chapter 126. In his opinion, the possibility of Xiao Chen lying was not high. However, it was hard to say how effective it would be. It might be effective, but it would not be that effective. Thank you, Grandpa Jean. Xiao Chen did not think it was a big deal. 3 hours. Only a dozen minutes have passed. Let Bebe show you around the Jean family's courtyard. You can familiarize yourself with it. Come here often in the future, Old Master Jean said. Okay. Xiao Chen had nothing to do anyway, so he nodded. It was not the first time for Cheng Menjing to come to the Jean family's residence. She used to come here when she was a child, so she couldn't be more familiar with the place. However, it was the first time for Xiao Chen to come here. Although the Jean family's residence was not very big, it had a rustic style. In the courtyard, various plants, vegetables, and fruits were planted everywhere. It could be seen that Old Master Jean preferred the rustic style. Cousin-in-law, these cherries are delicious. Jean Bebe pointed at the cherries on the tree when they passed by a cherry tree. Really? I'm going to have a taste. Xiao Chen picked a few cherries casually and stuffed them into his mouth. It was impossible to use pesticides in the Jean family's residence, so he did not need to wash them. It's okay. It's just a little sour, cousin-in-law, you didn't pick them well. This Bebe is experienced. As Jean Bebe spoke, she picked a big cherry from a cherry tree slightly further away and put it to Xiao Chen's mouth. Cousin-in-law, have a taste of Bebe's cherries. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Looking at the cherries in Jean Bebe's hand and then at her breasts, he began to imagine. It would be great if Jean Bebe could give it to me to play with. Xiao Chen, what are you thinking about? Xiao Chen hurriedly put these messy thoughts aside and swallowed the cherries in Jean Bebe's hand. However, the cherries were much more delicious than those Xiao Chen had picked for himself. They were sweet and sour, very delicious. Bebe's cherries are still delicious. Xiao Chen nodded and said. Right? Bebe said that Bebe's cherries are delicious. Jean Bebe nodded. Cheng Menjing was speechless at the disgusting actions of the two people in front of her. What kind of people are they? It wasn't easy for Jean Bebe to find someone like her. How did I get Xiao Chen back? He wasn't like this before. Or was the previous Xiao Chen in disguise? Or was the current Xiao Chen in disguise? Or was he schizophrenic? Oh my God, it's so scary. Cheng Menjing felt scared just thinking about it. However, on second thought, Xiao Chen had always been quite normal. Could it be that he had become a different person after experiencing a huge change? This was also the most reasonable explanation. Hey, Xiao Chen, I want to eat too. Seeing that Xiao Chen and Jean Bebe were enjoying themselves, Cheng Menjing suddenly felt a little hungry. She ordered Xiao Chen. Okay. Imitating Jean Bebe, Xiao Chen went to the woods inside and picked some cherries. However, since they were for the First Lady, he could not do it so casually. Xiao Chen wiped the cherries carefully with his hands. However, when Xiao Chen rubbed the cherries back and forth with his hands, he instilled a bit of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into the cherries unnaturally. With Xiao Chen's capability, it was impossible for him not to leak any of his spiritual energy. However, Xiao Chen had not run into any other cultivators yet. Therefore, he did not need to worry that anyone would discover anything. Done. Imitating Jean Bebe, Xiaochen raised the cherries to Qing Menjing's mouth. Qing Menjing was slightly dazed, but she still bit the cherries carefully and put them into her mouth. After living with Xiaochen for a long time, Qing Menjing's immunity to Xiaochen had dropped. For example, Qing Menjing could accept feeding her food now. Otherwise, if it were before, how could a guy feed her food in such a way? How intimate must they be? Huh? Qing Menjing bit open the skin of the cherries, only to discover that the flesh of the cherries was fresh, juicy, and delicious. It was even more delicious than the cherries that she had eaten during her previous visits. Also, it was not only twice, but also 10 times, 100 times better. Qing Menjing was quite surprised. Was it because the cherries were not ripe? But that was not right. The cherry tree had been here for many years. Qing Menjing almost came here to eat cherries every year, but they were not as delicious as this. Qing Menjing enjoyed the taste of the cherries very much. Wow, they are so lovey-dovey. Cousin Menjing, cousin-in-law fed you cherries. You are so intoxicated. Jean Bebe giggled and shouted. Oh. Qing Menjing blushed immediately. She was indeed intoxicated, but it was because the cherries were too delicious. How could it be that Xiaochen fed her cherries? Qing Menjing hurriedly explained, Bebe, didn't you notice that the cherries today are especially delicious? Yes, cousin-in-law fed them. Of course they are delicious. Jean Bebe nodded. Qing Menjing glared at her and was a little embarrassed. She said to Xiaochen, give them to me. I will eat them myself. It's nothing. Bebe likes to talk nonsense. Okay. Xiaochen gave the remaining cherries to Qing Menjing. Qing Menjing picked one up eagerly. She wiped it with her hand and put it into her mouth. But she frowned the moment she ate it. It didn't taste right. Although it couldn't be said that the cherries weren't delicious, they were worlds apart from the previous cherries. After eating the previous delicious cherries, this cherry was simply unappetizing. Qing Menjing swallowed it reluctantly. Then she picked up another one. However, it tasted even worse than before. Qing Menjing spat it out immediately and ate another one. The result was not any better. It was not as delicious as before. That's not right. Why are they not as delicious as before? Qing Menjing looked at the cherries in her hand curiously. They all looked the same. Because cousin-in-law fed them just now. That's why they are delicious. Jean Bebe said with a smile. How is that possible? Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Do you think all the nutrition is stored in my chest? Qing Menjing naturally didn't believe Jean Bebe's explanation. As for Xiaochen, he was also very puzzled. Could it be that the cherry had mutated? Qing Menjing ate a few more cherries. She didn't even have the courage to continue eating them. They were too disgusting. Are they so disgusting? Jean Bebe was also curious. She picked up a cherry in Qing Menjing's hand and put it into her mouth. But after she ate it, her expression was quite normal. They are the same. There is no difference from usual. Qing Menjing knew there was no difference. But the cherries just now were really delicious. Qing Menjing had never eaten such delicious cherries in her life. They are really different. Jean Bebe thought for a while and said, well, maybe cousin-in-law made them more delicious for you. Well, Qing Menjing wanted to say that it was impossible. But after thinking for a while, she realized that this was the only difference. Therefore, she decided to give it a try. Hey, Xiaochen, feed me another one. You are my servant. It's normal for you to serve me. Okay. Xiaochen took back a cherry from the eldest Miss hand, wiped it clean, and put it into her mouth. However, he was enjoying it very much in his heart. If this little cherry mouth ate something else, would it be even more enjoyable? He was thinking too much again. What? After eating the cherry, Qing Menjing looked at Xiao Chen in shock. It was indeed different. That rare taste had returned. It was still as fresh and delicious as before, just like the cherry at the very beginning. After eating it, Qing Menjing said to Xiao Chen hurriedly, "Xiao Chen, I want more." Xiao Chen picked up another one, wiped it clean, and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. He was a little puzzled. What's wrong with Qing Menjing today? Why does she like me feeding her cherries? Xiao Chen wouldn't believe that Qing Menjing liked him. Well, I want more. Don't stop. Go on. Qing Menjing shouted anxiously when she saw Xiao Chen stop after feeding her another one. Xiao Chen picked up another one, wiped it clean, and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. After eating it, the eldest Miss was a little unhappy. I told you not to stop. Hurry up. I want more. I want more. Xiao Chen took a deep breath. The eldest Miss's voice was very pleasant. Her words made his imagination run wild. However, he was just thinking about it. Wow, Cousin Menjing, I didn't expect you to be such a bold and unrestrained girl. If I didn't know better, I would think that you were having sex with my cousin-in-law in the woods. Jean Bebe looked at Qing Menjing weirdly. You didn't mean to seduce my cousin-in-law, did you? Otherwise, why did he feed you so delicious? Why did you make such an alluring sound? You. Bebe, you can try it if you don't believe me. Qing Menjing blushed and did not know how to explain. However, she would know how delicious it was if she asked Xiao Chen to feed her one. Hee hee. I'll give it a try and see how delicious my cousin-in-law is. Jean Bebe nodded with a smile. Before, my cousin-in-law was feeding me very delicious too. Jean Bebe was teasing Qing Menjing when a cherry entered her mouth. She was more or less dumbfounded. Did such delicious cherries grow on her own cherry tree? It must be noted that Jean Bebe had been eating cherries since she was a little girl. She knew very well what they tasted like, but the taste in her mouth today had completely overturned her memory. Looking at Jean Bebe's shocked face, Qing Menjing was rather proud. How about it? I was right, wasn't I? Was what Xiao Chen fed you different? It's impossible. It's impossible. How could it be? It doesn't make sense. Jean Bebe, however, shook her head. Right. It must be because Bebe likes my cousin-in-law. That's why there is a bonus of mental enjoyment. Cousin Menjing likes my cousin-in-law too. That's right. That must be it. However, why does Bebe and my cousin like the same man? What should I do? Pooh. Qing Menjing glared at Jean Bebe, somewhat lost for words. Hey, Bebe, are you alright? What bonus of mental enjoyment? It's impossible for me to like him. I don't have any bonus. Delicious means delicious. Chapter 127. Jean Bebe shook her head and said, That's right. Even if there is a bonus, it can't be that delicious. When my cousin-in-law fed Bebe lobsters and abalones before, there was not such a big difference. There was only a little bonus. Looking at Jean Bebe, Qing Menjing suddenly asked, Bebe, it seems that you like Xiao Chen, don't you? Well, I just think that my cousin-in-law is not bad. I don't really like him, Jean Bebe said in a hurry. All right. It's been almost 2 hours. Let's go back. Qing Menjing had eaten a lot of cherries and was almost done. Even the most delicious food could not be eaten all the time. Oh. But I haven't had enough yet. Cousin Menjing was the one eating all the cherries before. Jean Bebe said, somewhat wronged. This cherry tree belongs to your family. You can eat it whenever you want. Do you have to eat it now? Qing Menjing said angrily. That's different. My cousin-in-law is not always here. Jean Bebe said, somewhat wronged, you ate so many just now, and I only had one, okay? Well. Qing Menjing was somewhat puzzled, too. Why was the cherries fed by Xiao Chen so delicious? Did Xiao Chen have some magical energy on his hands? She thought for a moment and found it unlikely. Therefore, she said, "You are just imagining things. Cousin Menjing is so mean. You are such a bully. It's obviously different." Jean Bebe felt even more wronged. All right. Xiao Chen, go and pick some cherries. Then, let's go back. You can feed Bebe on the way back. Cheng Menjing said helplessly. Okay. Jean Bebe was delighted again. Xiao Chen picked some cherries. Then, he fed Jean Bebe on the way back. Jean Bebe was enjoying the cherries very much. The three of them returned to the living room. When old Master Jean saw Xiao Chen feeding Jean Bebe cherries, he also widened his eyes and became more certain that his granddaughter must be interested in Xiao Chen. Otherwise, how could she be so obedient and let Xiao Chen feed her cherries? At this time, Jean Baobao walked in with the decocted medicine. When he saw Xiao Chen and his sister, he was shocked. Jean Bebe's marriage had always been a headache for the Jean family. Firstly, how many of them would really dare to ask for Jean Bebe's hand? Secondly, Jean Bebe herself would not agree. If it was an ordinary family, who could stand Jean Bebe's anger? On the other hand, Jean Bebe would feel wronged if she married an ordinary person. Would she be willing to do that? Therefore, the matter had been put aside for the time being. Seeing that Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen were so close to each other, Jean Baobao finally understood why his grandpa trusted and valued Xiao Chen so much. So he wanted to choose a grandson-in-law. Otherwise, he would not be afraid that something would go wrong if he brewed the dregs of the medicine. Delicious. Jean Bebe was enjoying the cherries. Old Master Jean, on the other hand, shook his head with a smile. The cherries belonged to the Jean family. Jean Bebe ate them all the time, but she had never enjoyed them so much. It seemed that this Xiao Chen was not an ordinary person. Bebe, are the cherries so delicious? All right, let's eat them later. Ask Xiao Chen to come here and teach Grandpa how to take the medicine. Old Master Jean said to Jean Bebe. Okay. Jean Bebe nodded reluctantly and said, "Cousin-in-law, give all the cherries to Bebe. Bebe can eat them herself." Okay. Xiao Chen put the remaining cherries in Jean Bebe's hand. Then, he took the medicine from Jean Baobao and sniffed it. Although the smell was not as strong as before, it should still be good. Therefore, he said, "Grandpa Jean, you can drink it in one go later. Then, go to the yard and practice a set of martial arts. That will be enough." Okay. Old Master Jean took the medicine and drank it all up. Originally, Old Master Jean did not have much hope. He treated Xiao Chen well because of his granddaughter, Jean Bebe. However, after he drank the medicine, he felt that something was wrong. A stream of warmth immediately spread from his abdomen to his whole body. The heat made him feel that his blood was boiling and his energy was vigorous. It seemed that he would feel uncomfortable if he did not use the strength in his body. He hurried to walk out of the parlor and went outside. Then, he started to exercise quickly. Jean Bebe ate a cherry, but she spat it out as soon as she swallowed it. It tasted terrible. It was not the same taste at all. Jean Bebe's father, Jean Zonghai, was the second son of the Jean family. Currently, he ran several stores in Songning City. However, he did not have the core production technology and sold the products of others. Therefore, the profit was very limited. Every year, he could barely maintain the operation of the Jean family. It was impossible for him to expand the Jean family. He mainly controlled a few chain noodle restaurants, a few chain pharmacies, and a few chain clothing stores. Currently, he was the agent of the products of other companies. As soon as he got home, he heard the sound of martial arts training in the yard. When he walked closer, he was stunned. "Isn't that my father? Dad. What are you?" Jean Zonghai looked at golden-haired Lion King in confusion. Old Master Jean had his own training room. Normally, he would not practice in the yard of the villa, let alone at the door of the parlor. However, he was different today. Haha. Comfortable. So comfortable. I haven't felt so comfortable for many years. The golden fur lion king laughed out loud as he punched. Although the injury on his waist was burning hot, it was especially comfortable. It was like cupping, painful and happy at the same time. Question mark. Jin Zonghai's eyes widened. Dad, what are you doing? Ha ha ha. You have a good daughter and brought home a good grandson-in-law. Ha 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 ha. That's great. It's so comfortable. It's so cool. Old Master Jin laughed and waved his hands. What? Jin Zonghai was stunned. What does he mean by having a good daughter and bringing home a good grandson-in-law? Who is he talking about? However, Jin Zonghai only has one daughter. Is he talking about Jin Beibei? Does Beibei have a boyfriend? Jin Zonghai's voice attracted Jin Baobao, Jin Beibei, Qing Menjing, and Xiao Chen. Then, they saw Jin Zonghai coming back. Second uncle. Qing Menjing hurried to greet Jin Zonghai when she saw him. Qing Menjing's mother was Jin Beibei's first aunt, and Jin Beibei's mother was Qing Menjing's second aunt. Both of them were members of the Zhu family. Oh. Menjing is here. Jin Zonghai nodded. Then, he fixed his eyes on Xiao Chen, which surprised him a bit. Old Master Jin said that Jin Beibei came back with her boyfriend. However, Xiao Chen was the only outsider here. He couldn't be Jin Baobao, could he? Therefore, it could only be Xiao Chen. However, Jin Zonghai knew Xiao Chen. He knew that he was the useless young master of the Xiao family and used to be Qing Menjing's fiancé. Since Jin Zonghai was more or less related to Qing Menjing, he paid close attention to their affairs. However, according to Old Master Jin, Xiao Chen was Beibei's boyfriend? This, Jin Zonghai was not a traditional and conservative person. In particular, Jin Beibei was favored by Old Master Jin. Therefore, Jin Zonghai did not have many requirements when it came to choosing a partner. However, if she chose Xiao Chen, their relationship would be a bit messy. How awkward would it be between her and Qing Menjing in the future? However, why was Qing Menjing here? It was so hard to understand the world of young people. Hello, second Uncle Jin. Xiao Chen nodded politely. Xiao Chen is here. Welcome, welcome. Jin Zonghai said politely. Like Jin Baobao, he was not a big shot in the family. Therefore, he had no right to show off here. In the Jin family, where Old Master Jin acted arbitrarily, no one dared to do anything in front of Old Master Jin. Otherwise, they would be asking for a beating. Ho! At this moment, Old Master Jin suddenly shouted. Then, he let out a long breath and said with a relaxed expression, "Good medicine. It's a miraculous medicine. Xiao Chen, you are very good. Wait for me to take a shower." After saying that, Old Master Jin quickly left under everyone's surprised gaze. After Old Master Jin left, Jin Zonghai looked at Jin Beibei and asked, "Beibei, what's going on?" "Oh, my cousin-in-law is here to treat Grandpa. Look at Grandpa now. He must have cured him." Jin Beibei said proudly as if she was the one who treated Grandpa. "How is it? My cousin-in-law is awesome, isn't he?" "Cousin-in-law? Treat him?" Jin Zonghai was stunned for a moment before he realized who this cousin-in-law was. However, didn't they say that Xiao Chen was Beibei's boyfriend now? Why was he still her cousin-in-law? Could it be that Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing had come back from the ashes, and Jin Beibei was the mistress? It was so messy that he felt that he could not think clearly enough. However, although he found it hard to accept the mistress, Old Master Jin was in charge of this matter. It was not up to him to say anything. Therefore, he did not bother about it. Yes, my cousin-in-law is awesome. He saw through Grandpa's illness at first glance. Then, Grandpa invited him to treat him. Jean Bebe explained. What? Jean Zonghai turned around in shock and looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, even I don't know where father's injuries are, and you can see through them? It's just an accident. Xiao Chen smiled. I was born to be useless. I only wanted to see if there was a way to change my body constitution. Therefore, I did some research on the medical arts. That's not all. My cousin-in-law is awesome in other aspects, too. He is not useless at all but a genius. Just like Bebe. Jean Bebe said. Jean Zonghai nodded. He had never seen Jean Bebe praise a man. So to speak, his father's words had some basis. Was there anything between Bebe and Xiao Chen? Then, thank you very much, Mr. Xiao. If father's injuries are cured, you will be the benefactor of the Jean family. Jean Zonghai's way of addressing Xiao Chen and his tone suddenly changed. If old master's injuries were really cured, his capability would definitely soar. It would be a blessing for the Jean family. Chapter 128. You're welcome. When Xiao Chen was about to say that it was nothing, Qing Menjing spoke first. Humph. Second uncle, you don't have to thank him. He is just my servant. If I ask him to go east, he doesn't dare to go west. If I ask him to beat a dog, he doesn't dare to catch a chicken. Qing Menjing put her hands on her waist, somewhat complacent. It was rare to have such an awesome servant. Even she felt that she was awesome. Yes, second Uncle Jean, I'm just a servant of the eldest Mississippi. Just tell me if you need anything. Xiao Chen said with a smile. He found the eldest Miss's appearance indescribably cute. Why didn't he notice it before? Oh. Ha ha ha, so the legend is true. Xiao Chen is going to be your servant, Menjing. Jean Zonghai smiled. However, you have to thank him. I don't care about the relationship between you two. Brother-in-law, I want you to feed me cherries again. Jean Bebe had just eaten an awful cherry, and she wanted Xiao Chen to feed her again. Oh, okay. Xiao Chen took the cherry, wiped it, and put it into Jean Bebe's mouth. Delicious. Delicious. Jean Bebe finally ate delicious cherries again. It was definitely not an illusion. Seeing that she ate several cherries in a row, Qing Menjing was also drooling. So she said, Xiao Chen, I want some, too. Oh, okay. Xiao Chen picked up another cherry, wiped it, and fed it to the eldest Mississippi. Therefore, the two of them ate the cherries that Xiao Chen fed them, one on the left and the other on the right. Jean Zonghai was dumbfounded. Damn it. Are sisters fighting for favor? Xiao Chen doesn't look like a servant at all. He couldn't help but believe old Master Jin's words. Of course, he could never imagine that it was a very simple thing. It was only because the cherries that Xiao Chen fed her were delicious. Jean Baobao was also a little dumbfounded. Previously, he didn't have much interaction with Xiao Chen. He only heard that Xiao Chen was an arrogant hedonistic young master. But today, it seemed that it was completely different. Moreover, he was even able to subdue such a mischievous younger sister. This was not something that an ordinary person could do. It was impossible for him to gain Jean Bebe's admiration without real ability. Jean Bebe was no fool. Very soon, the cherries in Xiao Chen's hands were all eaten up by the eldest Miss and Jean Bebe. The two of them were still not satisfied. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen was about to pick more cherries when he heard Master Jin's excited laughter. All right, I'm completely healed. There is no abnormality at all. My inner force can flow through my entire body without any obstruction. Old Master Jin strode into the living room. When he saw Xiao Chen, he gave him a big bear hug. Well. Xiao Chen was almost strangled to death by old Master Jin. He coughed and said with a bitter smile, "That's great. The next medicine is to cure the root cause. You must take it on time." My young friend Xiao Chen, I didn't know that your expertise in medical arts has far exceeded that in martial arts. As he said that, old Master Jean could not help but put on a disdainful expression. I don't know what old Sheng and old Xiao are thinking. They are truly two super idiots. How stupid would they be to turn down such a great-grandson and grandson-in-law? Their brains must have been damaged after too much training, haven't they? Although old master's words were crude, they were not unreasonable. However, Xiao Chen's grandpa and Xing Menjing's grandpa both felt somewhat embarrassed when he said those words. To be honest, Xiao Chen's grandpa still loved Xiao Chen very much when he was young. In recent years, he was more strict with him because of his inner force. Therefore, Xiao Chen did not particularly bear a grudge against him. My young friend Xiao Chen, I just said that if you cure my illness, I will give you a Jean Bebe. How about it? Old Master Jean looked at Xiao Chen with a smile. He was just joking before, but now, it could be said that he was sincere. With Xiao Chen's medical arts, the Jean family might become the top aristocratic family in Songning City. Moreover, it was not impossible for them to rush to the entire Xia kingdom. As long as he opened a martial arts medical center, he would gain both fame and fortune. Grandpa Jean, don't joke. How can I give it to you? Xiao Chen was stunned. Xiao Chen could still distinguish the affirmative tone in old Master Jin's reply. It was completely different from the previous joke. Hee, as I said last time, if the Xiao family doesn't want you, our Jean family can take you. How about you marry into our Jean family? Although old Master Jean was an uncouth man, he actually understood that rare goods were worth hoarding. Only when Xiao Chen was a member of the Jean family, he could help the Jean family with all his strength. Well, forget it. I am now only Menjing's servant. Even if I am not good enough, she is used to using me. I can't just leave casually. Xiao Chen saw old Master Jin's sincerity. However, this matter was not a small matter. If Xiao Chen really married into the Jean family, he would lose face. Suddenly being valued by the Jean family would not conform to his original intention of low-key investigation of the real culprit behind the scenes. Humph, you have a conscience. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Qing Menjing was very satisfied. I have treated you well. If you drive me away, I will never talk to you again. Hee. Xiao Chen felt a little funny. After talking for a long time, her punishment was to never talk to him again? Old Master Jean glanced at Qing Menjing with interest and then looked at Jean Bebe. He nodded thoughtfully and said, since you haven't made up your mind, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about it later. However, I am still very grateful to you, Xiao Chen. Old Master Jean could see that the relationship between the three of them was a little strange. He could not rush it and could only take one step at a time. Grandpa Jean, since you have recovered from your injury, it's time for me to leave. It's very late, and I have to go to school tomorrow. Xiao Chen nodded at old Master Jean. As for gratitude, he did not think too much about it. The reason why he helped old Master Jean in the first place was because of his mistress and Jean Bebe. You're right. It's getting late. Why don't you stay at the Jean family's place for the night? Menjing often stays here, and Xiao Chen, we have enough guest rooms here, old Master Jean said. That's not necessary. Xiao Chen was still boiling medicine in the electric pot. He had to go back. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If one did not move forward, one would fall behind. If Xiao Chen wanted to gain strength as soon as possible, he could not waste any day. Qing Menjing pursed her lips. She was about to agree because she wanted to eat cherries, but Xiao Chen insisted on leaving. She was a little unhappy. Hey, Xiao Chen, I want you to stay here. Menjing, I'm still boiling medicine at home, Xiao Chen said honestly. Ah. I see. Let's go back then. Qing Menjing was not an insensible girl. Hearing that Xiao Chen still wanted to take medicine, she naturally did not insist. Compared with gluttony, Xiao Chen's internal strength was more important. Old Master Jean looked at Qing Menjing strangely again. He also realized that Xiao Chen listened to Qing Menjing when it came to small things. However, when it came to big things, Qing Menjing still listened to Xiao Chen. Was this a servant relationship? It was really weird. Could it be that Qing Menjing also liked Xiao Chen? In that case, Beibei did not have an advantage in the competition. No, what if old Master Qing got ahead of me? What should I do? Seeing that Xiao Chen wanted to go back to take medicine, old Master Jean could not force him to stay. He could only say, "Okay, but I will ask Jean Bao Bao to send the dregs back to you." Although old Master Jean was very reluctant to give up the dregs, this thing belonged to Xiao Chen. He could not be greedy. He was going to get along with Xiao Chen for a long time. He did not want to take advantage of him temporarily. That's not necessary. Just leave it here. In the future, whoever has an old injury in his body can also take it. Xiao Chen waved his hand and did old Master Jean a favor. Besides, the dregs were only 1/5 of the medicine that Xiao Chen had used. Xiao Chen did not care about it at all. He just did not show it on the surface. In that case, I won't be polite. Old Master Jean nodded happily after hearing it. He thought that this kid was really smart. It seemed that he also liked Beibei a little. Otherwise, how could he be so generous? Thinking of that, old Master Jean was greatly reassured. Then we'll take our leave now. Right, you'd better keep the fact that I treated your injury a secret. Xiao Chen did not want his peaceful life to be disrupted. Of course. Rest assured, my young friend Xiao Chen, I won't tell anyone even if you beat me to death. Old Master Jean patted his chest and promised. That was exactly what he wanted. If everybody knew about it, it would not be a rare commodity. He did not want to tell anybody yet. It would be great if Jean Beibei could keep Xiao Chen for herself secretly. Xiao Chen nodded and left with the eldest lady. Jean Beibei, however, was somewhat reluctant to leave. She wanted to follow them, but she did not have a good reason to do so. She could only wave goodbye to them. Before they left, she said, "Cousin-in-law, you can drive the Porsche 991 away. Beibei still prefers Jean Beibei's car." Okay. Xiao Chen nodded. It was too late. It was unrealistic for him and the eldest lady to go back on foot. Xiao Chen and Qing Menjing walked to the parking lot and got into Chen Jinpeng's Porsche 991 that Jean Beibei had just tricked. Sitting in the driver's seat of the car, Xiao Chen had a lot of mixed feelings. He used to have such a car, but it was an old 911, and 991 was the code name of the new 911. Xiao Chen did not expect that he would be driving a sports car again after being kicked out of the Xiao family. Living in a villa every day, flirting with girls. It seemed that she was even more awesome than before as an honorable guest of the Jean family. It was not until this moment that Xiao Chen finally understood why the protagonists in so many novels and TV shows were all good-for-nothings. It turned out that they were the most awesome. Hey, why did the cherries you fed me taste so good? After getting in the car, Qing Menjing could not help but ask. This was something that she could not understand no matter how hard she thought about it. She asked herself if she was that love-struck. What kind of mental boost would there be? Besides, Xiao Chen was not her boyfriend, so what was the boost? Chapter 129. In fact, Xiao Chen was quite curious, too. He had thought that the young mistress was fooling around with Jean Beibei. But now that he heard it, it did not seem to be the case. Xiao Chen, you are an idiot. When you wiped it, your spiritual energy leaked out and was directly absorbed by the cherries. Of course it's delicious. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice echoed next to Xiao Chen's ears. Everything in the world needs to absorb nutrients to grow. So does the cherries. They absorb the fertilizer in the soil and the carbon dioxide in the air. Nourished by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, they can grow. However, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth here is sparse, and you have more in your hands. The cherries have just been picked, and they are still active. They can be absorbed by themselves. After a long time, you have to inject them into your body manually. That explains a lot. Xiao Chen was enlightened. It was just like injecting spiritual energy into a dish when cooking. But how could he explain it to the young mistress? Xiao Chen immediately felt a headache coming on. Maybe it's because I drink some expensive herbs every day, and my body is releasing the energy of the herbs. Xiao Chen said briefly, I just cleaned the cherries for you and fed them to you. As you can see, I didn't add anything. That's true. Cheng Menjing nodded. She had been paying attention to Xiao Chen's hands. Except for cleaning the cherries, he did not do anything else. We will pass by a fruit shop later. Go and buy some fruits. I'm going to try it out. Okay. Xiao Chen nodded. Not far away from the villa area, there was a high-end fruit supermarket. It was open 24 hours a day and targeted at the customers in the rich area. The fruits in the supermarket were of the best quality, but the prices were relatively high. Xiao Chen parked the car in front of the fruit supermarket. He was about to get off the car to buy some fruits when Cheng Menjing stopped him. Hey, here's your money. As she spoke, Cheng Menjing took out her wallet and gave it to Xiao Chen directly. It seemed that she had built up her trust in Xiao Chen and did not need to worry that Xiao Chen would steal her money. No need, it's my treat. Xiao Chen said with a smile. Recently, he had cheated a lot of money. Previously, Missy also gave the card that Chen Jinpeng gave her to Xiao Chen. He didn't care about such a small amount of money to buy fruits at all. You have taken me in for so long. I should also repay you. Well, since you're so proactive, I'll give you a chance to repay me. Cheng Menjing nodded and put away her wallet. Xiao Chen went to buy some cherries. The cherries here were cherries. They were not as red as the cherries at Bei Bei's house. Instead, they were dark purple. He also bought a few peaches and oranges. Seeing that there were still vegetables over there, Xiao Chen also bought some. Of course, even if the price here was more expensive, it was only a few hundred yuan. For the current Xiao Chen, it was really nothing. After buying things, Xiao Chen returned to the car. Cheng Menjing couldn't wait to take out a cherry. She wiped it and quickly stuffed it into her mouth. The taste was not bad, but it was not as delicious as the cherries from before. Hey! Can you feed me one to try? Cheng Menjing stopped Xiao Chen from driving and said to him. Okay. Xiao Chen picked up one and wiped it. He pondered for a while and injected a little primordial qi into it. Who knew how many days had passed since the cherries were picked? If they were not active and didn't absorb primordial qi, wouldn't it be exposed? After doing it, he stuffed it into Cheng Menjing's mouth and said, What about now? It's really different. Cheng Menjing looked at Xiao Chen's hand in surprise. If it was in Beibei's house, there might be something wrong with the cherries because Jean Beibei had done something to them. But if it was bought outside, there wouldn't be any problem. However, the taste was still very different. After thinking for a while, Cheng Menjing said, Why don't you wipe it and feed it to me directly? Missy, aren't you afraid of having a stomachache? Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile. Then I'll wipe it myself and feed it to you. Cheng Menjing picked up a cherry and wiped it. Then, she passed it to Xiao Chen. This time, Xiao Chen didn't wipe it, nor did he inject primordial qi into it. He directly fed it to Cheng Menjing. What about this time? It's not delicious. Cheng Menjing frowned. She finally believed Xiao Chen's words. She looked at Xiao Chen in surprise. You have this ability? You can sell fruits in the future. Forget it. Do I have to wipe them one by one before I sell them? Don't you think I'm tired? Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile. Humph. You want to leave now? I won't let you go. Such a magical servant belongs to me, Cheng Menjing. Humph. Cheng Menjing said proudly. Okay. I'm not leaving. Xiao Chen smiled. He didn't expect that he would be so qualified as a servant that Missy was very satisfied with. In fact, Xiaochen felt that it was not bad to have a temporary place to stay. Here, he could hide his strength and didn't have to worry about being discovered. At least, Missy and Jean Bebe wouldn't tell them if they knew. But if he lived in other places, it would be hard to say. It was hard to guarantee that the Qing family or the person suspected to be behind Xiao Yuliang wouldn't send someone to spy on him. If that happened, it wouldn't be fun. But now, he was living with Qing Menjing. Who dared to spy on him? You still have a conscience. Qing Menjing nodded in satisfaction. Feed me another cherry. Hurry up. Okay. Because Xiaochen had to drive, he quickly injected primordial energy into the bag of cherries by hand. It looked like he was wiping them. When he was done, he handed it to Qing Menjing. Okay. You can eat it. It should be delicious as well. Humph. Why didn't you think of this earlier? Are you trying to take advantage of me? Qing Menjing took the cherries and glared at Xiaochen. I wouldn't dare. I didn't think of this before, did I? Besides, you asked me to feed you. Xiaochen shrugged innocently. Humph. Qing Menjing ate the cherries and ignored Xiaochen. In fact, if Xiaochen said that he did it on purpose, the young lady might be a little happier. What she was most confused about was why she didn't attract Xiaochen. Although this guy respected her and treated her as the hostess, he had never treated her as a woman. Was he blind? Couldn't he see that she wasn't worse than Shen Jingxian, Kerlin, and Tang Tang? Humph. Sooner or later, I'll let you know how much you regret it when I dumped you. Xiaochen started the car and returned to the villa. When Xiaochen was about to take the medicine, the young lady threw the rest of the fruit in front of Xiaochen. Hey, help me process it. It's your honor. Okay, I'm very willing, dear young lady. Xiaochen took the fruit with a smile, injected some primordial qi into it, and then returned it to Qing Menjing. The young lady was satisfied and went upstairs with the fruit, while Xiaochen turned his head to drink the medicine. This medicine was bought by Xiaochen at a high price, so Xiaochen cherished it very much. He even drank the last drop of the medicine, and then began to exercise in the room. Although it was very late, the villa was a standalone building. Only Xiaochen lived on the first floor, so it wouldn't affect others. After exercising for more than an hour, Xiaochen released the heat in his dantian. It was very comfortable. He took a shower and practiced on the bed with peace of mind. However, after cultivating for a while, Xiaochen's phone rang. Xiaochen took a look, and it was actually Lu Zhenming. After hesitating for a while, Xiaochen still picked up the phone. No matter how much I hate him, this kid will be stupid enough to send me money in a few days. Xiaochen had no reason to ignore this nouveau riche friend. Young Master Lu, it's so late. What's the matter with me? Asked Xiaochen. Xiaochen, it's like this. I want to ask, is the matter tonight resolved? Did Menjing say anything about me? Asked Lu Zhenming. It turned out that this guy wanted to inquire about Qing Menjing's whereabouts. After the hero saved the beauty, he wanted to ask for the beauty's evaluation. Xiaochen thought about it and said, she didn't know what was going on before, but after my explanation, she finally understood what was going on. Her evaluation of you is okay, but you also know Qing Menjing's identity. It's impossible to move her at once with this ordinary level of hero saving the beauty. Yes, I understand, but this is also a good start. Today, thank you, Xiaochen, for helping to inform me. You can rest assured that I will definitely protect you in the future. In school, no one dares to do anything to you. Lu Zhenming thought, it seems that I can't get rid of Xiaochen for the time being. It's also good to keep this kid to provide me with information on picking up girls. Then, let him live for 2 more days. Is there anything else? Asked Xiaochen. There is one more thing. Do you know where Qing Menjing eats in the morning? I rarely see her eating breakfast at school. I want to treat her to breakfast tomorrow morning. Let's strike while the iron is hot. Can you give me a suggestion? Lu Zhenming revealed his purpose. He wanted to strike while the iron was hot. Today, he had successfully saved the beauty. The next day, he naturally had to take the initiative to please Qing Menjing first while she hadn't forgotten it. How can I give you a suggestion? How would I know what she is willing to eat? Xiao Chen said somewhat impatiently. Did Lu Zhenming even know how to pick up girls or not? Xiao Chen was a little impatient. That's right. How about I treat her to breakfast tomorrow morning, and I will take you with me. You can give me some advice. Lu Zhenming asked tentatively. Why do you take me with you if you treat her to breakfast? I have to go to sell fried dough sticks. Do you have something to say or not? If not, I'm hanging up. You don't want to pay me, and you still ask me so many questions. Xiao Chen was anxious to try the effect of the medicine, but Lu Zhenming still didn't give up. Well, aren't you in a good relationship with Jean Bebe? How about I invite Qing Menjing to bring you and Jean Bebe? 2 pairs will be perfect. Otherwise, if I treat Qing Menjing to a meal alone, she will have to agree first. Lu Zhenming said somewhat embarrassedly, Xiao Chen, rest assured. The money I promised you will not be small. It's only 200,000. I'll give it to you as soon as I have it. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.